Chapter 1705. Mu Yan's eyes narrowed slightly, and a cold glint flickered in her eyes. Di Mingju turns to look at Mayan. Yen Yen, how do you want to deal with them? Mu Yan smiles faintly. You decide. She won't use her hatred to kidnap Di Mingju's will. Even if she and Tian Men were previously absolutely irreconcilable, but they had done Di Mingju a favor. It's impossible for her to force Di Mingju to be an ungrateful person. As for the enmity with Tian Men, she would settle it herself one day at a time in the future. Hearing this, Di Mingju's gaze once again falls on Gu Yuchong and Nguyelan. Gu Yuchong and Nguyelan think that their mention of kindness has moved Di Mingju, and they immediately breathe a sigh of relief. He felt that he had just escaped death. Di Mingju slowly raises his hand to cover Xiao Bao's eyes, the corners of his mouth curling up into a shallow smile. In the next moment, Gu Yuchong and Nguyelan's expressions of relief suddenly turned into horror. With a loud bang, both of their bodies exploded, flesh and blood splattering everywhere. However, a barrier had already risen in front of Mu Yan and Xiao Bao, and it kept all the filth out. Di Mingju's gloomy and cold voice is like a death god from purgatory. That bit of kindness has long since been used up. How dare he hurt his wife and child over and over again? Tian Men, no one should think of escaping this time. The people of the Xiaoyao sect had just woken up. They were originally filled with worry for Mu Yan and Xiao Bao, but after witnessing with their own eyes how Di Mingju casually waved his hand and caused Gu Yuchong and Nguyelan's bodies to explode, each and every one of their mouths gaped so wide that one could stuff an egg inside. Didn't they say that those two people came from the Shushan continent? Wasn't Li Zuping, a nascent soul cultivator, respectful and fearful when he saw these two? It was 8 against 2, and they were almost completely annihilated, yet they couldn't even scratch the skin of the other party. But how could Teacher Mo cripple someone with a wave of his hand? No. He wasn't crippled, but he didn't even have a complete skeleton left. What was going on? Who exactly was Teacher Mo? Just how strong was he? Li Zuping, who had also just woken up, was almost scared out of his wits when he saw the scene of Gu Yuchong and Nguyelan being killed instantly. He curled his body into a ball, desperately trying to reduce his presence, wanting to escape. However, Di Mingju casually grabs him by the throat and lifts him into the air. He was about to turn him into a bloody mist just like Gu Yuchong and the others. Chu Moli suddenly said, "Instructor Mo, little junior sister, can you hand this person over to me?" Di Mingju's movements pause, his face expressionless as he looks towards Chu Moli. Even if he didn't deliberately release his oppressive might, when Chu Moli looked straight into his eyes, faint beads of sweat still appeared on his forehead. His heart was beating violently in his chest. That was the instinctive fear of the strong and the impulse to be forced to submit. Mayan raises her hand and pats Di Mingju. "Since third senior brother wants it, then give it to him." Di Mingju narrows his eyes. What do you mean by giving it to third senior brother? Was third senior brother that amazing? Humph. However, he still loosens his hand in the end. He directly seals most of Li Zuping's cultivation, and throws him in front of Chu Moli. After Di Mingju withdraws his gaze, Chu Moli breathes a sigh of relief. He lowers his head to look at Li Zuping who has fallen in front of him. The corners of his mouth slowly curve up, revealing a warm and bashful smile. He takes the unconscious Li Zuping into the space. Chapter 1706. Luo Yute said angrily, "Third senior brother, all of this was caused by that old thing Li Zuping. You mustn't let this bastard have it easy." Leng Yuma, little 7, is this your first day knowing third senior brother? Those who fall into his hands will definitely suffer 100 times more than death. Chu Moli smiled warmly, but didn't say anything. His lowered eyes flashed with a dark and resolute light. He slowly clenches his fists, then loosens them little by little. His gaze turns to Mayan, who is not too far away. In his mind, it was as if the scene of his junior sister weaving the sound wall again and again, but each time, it was broken and she vomited blood. He thought that it was time for him to become stronger. In the house, Deming-ju holds Mayan tightly in his arms are like iron pincers, but they're slightly trembling. It was only at this moment that the fear and palpitation in his heart surged. If he had come a step later, Mayan and Xiao Bao might have died in the hands of those two from Tianyi men. As soon as he thinks of this possibility, Deming-ju's heart surges with a crazy murderous intent, itching to overturn the entire Shuzhen continent and Shushan continent. Tianyi men. Tianyi men. This is not the first time they have made a move against Mu Yan. It's impossible for me to stay by Mu Yan's side all the time. Even if Ying Mei and the others are guarding her, I can't be completely at ease. A strong killing intent flashes through Deming-ju's eyes. Even Mu Yan felt the fluctuations in his emotions and couldn't help but raise her head to look at him. Deming-ju lowers his head, gently planting a kiss on her forehead. Yan, I have to go back to the Shushan continent again. Mayan stares blankly. You've just arrived and you're already leaving. Deming-ju's eyes ripple with a smile. Is Yan reluctant to part with Ben-jun? Mu Yan raises her eyebrows and hooks her arm around his neck. She coquettishly looks at him. I haven't seen you for so long, of course I can't bear to part with you. Don't tell me you're willing to do it. Deming-ju breathes heavily, the look in his eyes deepens. He tightened his grip on her waist and lowered his head to kiss her. However, before his lips could touch the soft and tender lips that he had been thinking about day and night, the two of them were suddenly separated by a force. Immediately after, a small hand heavily pushes Deming-ju, but she herself turns her head and burrows into Mayan's arms. Bai Xia said that without a matchmaker, there can't be illicit sexual intercourse. Father is not allowed to kiss mother. Now Nyangqin belongs to Xiao Bao alone. For a moment, Deming-ju's face is as black as if a cup of ink has been poured into it. Mu Yan looks at her son, who is in her arms, as if he's protecting a treasure. She can't help but burst into laughter. Deming-ju gnashes his teeth. Who is Bai Xia? In Xiao Bao's artifact spirit space, Bai Xia was trembling in fear. Little master, I can't say it, I can't say it. You can't betray me. Unfortunately, Xiao Bao very sincerely took out the evil warding sword. Little treasure replied, it's my sword spirit. The moment Deming-ju sees the Bixia sword, he stares blankly. Because with his eyesight and the number of treasures he'd seen, he was actually unable to determine exactly what grade of magic treasure this sword was. But very quickly, he threw this doubt to the back of his mind. Looking at the indistinct shadow of the sword spirit on the sword, he sneered faintly. What else did your sword spirit say? Xiao Bao is about to obediently answer. He hears the Bixia sword humming and trembling as it wails, Little master, I beg you, don't sell me again. I was wrong, isn't that enough? In the future, I won't dare to say that it's a beast to make a girl who's not even 15 years old pregnant out of wedlock. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere in the room goes quiet for a moment. Chapter 1707. Xiao Bao blinks. He still doesn't quite understand the meaning of Bai Xia's words. But he still can't help but straighten his little face. Bai Xia, don't say that my father is a beast. Mayan smiles and reaches out to touch Xiao Bao's head. Isn't Deming-ju? Before she can finish speaking, she is pulled into a familiar embrace along with Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao is Ben-jun's son. Deming-ju resolutely says, and you, Jun Mayan, can only be my wife. What ex-husband? What Xiao Bao's biological father? To hell with it. Whenever Di Mingju thinks of Mayan's words, "I love Xiao Bao's father," he grits his teeth in anger, wishing that he could tear that dead guy into pieces. What the sword spirit said is right. That's a beast, a piece of trash that should be hacked into pieces. Feeling the man's strong embrace and his words without a trace of hesitation, Mayan's gentle and comforting smile turns into sweetness. Xiao Bao, who is stuck in the middle, keeps muttering, "Daddy can't kiss mommy. Go away." Di Mingju takes a deep breath, resisting the urge to throw the naughty son away. He holds the back of Mayan's neck and gently kisses her forehead. "Wait for me for a few more days." "Mayan, what are you going to do when you return to the Shushan continent? Why do you want to go back when you've just arrived? Could it be that something had happened?" She sees the man's lips slowly curve up, revealing an evil smile. "Yen Yen, have you forgotten what you promised Ben Jun? As long as we find Xiao Bao, we'll get married." Mayan's eyes slowly widen. The smile on Di Mingju's face deepens, his eyes looking at her are blazing like fire, burning with a domineering determination and desire. "Yen Yen, what do you think Ben Jun will do when he returns?" "Of course, it's to prepare the betrothal gift for you. Shushan continent, Tian Men." Ling Qingwan looks at Lu Ruoxuan, who was brought back by the boy in black, and is so excited that she forgets herself. "This is the medicine for the magnificent quicksand." "Great. That was great. We're going to get the magnificent quicksand, and I'm going to have Jun Mayan's appearance and luck." Ling Yuexia frowned as she looked at Lu Ruoxuan, who looked like a lump of flesh. Her eyes were filled with disdain. She coldly looked at the blue-clothed boy. "This is the catalyst medicine you found." The luck of this catalyst medicine had been almost completely used up. Even if it was made into the magnificent quicksand, how useful would it be? Ling Qingwan grabbed Ling Yuexia's hand. Master, let's quickly refine the magnificent quicksand. Those drafts and elixirs are almost ready." Ling Yuexia glanced at Ling Qingwan, and the disgust in her eyes deepened. But that was fine too. Even if the effect of this magnificent quicksand was not good, there was still Ling Qingwan, that idiot, to try it out first. She said indifferently, "I still need to spend some effort to successfully make the magnificent quicksand's medicinal catalyst." "Master, tell me, what do you want to do?" "Your disciple will instruct someone to do it right away." Ling Yuexia had someone bring over a huge cauldron and threw Lu Ruoxuan inside. There was no water inside, and there was no lid either. Instead, there was firewood underneath. This firewood wasn't ordinary firewood, but it was made from dried, silver-horn wood, which could withstand spiritual fire and god fire. After she finished preparing, Ling Yuexia's hands formed a seal, and she suddenly shot out a mass of purple-red flame, which fell on the silver-horn wood. Chapter 1708. As soon as the purple-red flame touches the dry wood made of silver-horn wood, it immediately burns. Lu Ruoxuan is in a comatose state inside the huge furnace. At this time, under this scorching heat that can burn a person's skin, she can't help but let out whimpering moans, waking up. One of her eyes has already been dug out by Zheng Little Fatty. The flesh on her body has been cut off and grown back and cut again. Every day is a hellish torture. At this time, feeling the scorching heat, she thinks that Zheng Little Fatty is torturing her again. She can't help but let out whimpering pleas for mercy. However, she soon discovers that something is wrong. This isn't the secret room of Yaoguang branch. The person beside her isn't Zheng Little Fatty or anyone else from the Xiaoyao sect. Ling Qingwan glances at the huge furnace from time to time. Seeing that blood clot being burned little by little, and letting out a blood-curdling scream, she doesn't feel afraid or disgusted. Instead, her eyes are filled with greed. "Master, how long before this catalyst can be used as medicine?" Ling Qingwan impatiently asks. These days, because the Tiani men has been removed from the polar domain, it can be said that they have been bullied and given the cold shoulder in the entire Shushan continent. They're even worse than a small third-rate sect. She, Ling Qingwan, has always been a fairy who is held high above the clouds. When did she become an ant that anyone can step on? No, she absolutely doesn't want to live like this forever. Master, I must quickly take the magnificent quicksand and become June Mayan. I really can't go on living like this for another day. Ling Yuexia feels the thin fate coming from the huge furnace. In the end, she still can't help but frown, coldly saying, "Isn't this your fault for being useless? I told you to bring back June Mayan's corpse, the Tian Mo Qin in her hands, and the Shin musician inheritance. In the end, you killed her, and you didn't even get her corpse. Being able to become the Shin musician's successor, her fate can only be stronger than this catalyst. If we can use June Mayan to make the magnificent quicksand as a catalyst, then it would truly be a miraculous medicine that can let you and our Tiani men go against the heavens and change our fate." Ling Qingwan thinks of June Mayan who died in the Yanwu continent, and she also feels a burst of resentment. That slut. Such a happy death, it's really too easy for her. In the giant cauldron, Lu Ruoxuan, who was already in so much pain that she wanted to die and was in despair, heard their words, but it was like a bolt from the blue. What drug? Was she going to be turned into a drug? No. How could this be? She didn't want to die. She was the darling of the heavens, and there were still many wishes that she hadn't fulfilled. How could she die? Whoa. Ah! Lu Ruoxuan threw herself to the side of the roof and screamed with all her might. She wants to say that June Mayan is not dead. She wants to talk about the power of the Tian Mo Qin in Mayan's hands, and her identity as a descendant of the Shin musicians. But her tongue had just been cut off by Zhang Little Fatty, and it hadn't recovered yet. Lu Ruoxuan could only cry and beg Ling Qingwan and Ling Yuexia for mercy. However, Ling Qingwan and Ling Yuexia only treated her as a drug catalyst, so why would they care about her? Every time Lu Ruoxuan wanted to jump out of the huge cauldron, she would be ruthlessly hit on the head by a Tian Men disciple standing at the side with a stick, directly sending her back into the huge cauldron. The flesh on the lower half of her body had completely melted. He did not know what was so special about this fire. Even though Lu Ruoxuan still had demonic energy in her body, her melted flesh could not be restored. She watched helplessly as her legs turned into bones, and later, even the bones turned into powder. Then it was her pelvic cavity, her internal organs. Chapter 1709. Ling Yuexia muttered in disgust, it only took 6 hours to destroy more than half of her luck. Lu Ruoxuan was a medicinal catalyst left behind by an ancient powerhouse. Originally, it would take a long time to kill her. Even if Ling Yuexia had god fire and silver hornwood, firewood, it would take at least several months to completely melt her into a medicinal catalyst. But now, in just 6 hours, Lu Ruoxuan's body unexpectedly melted irreversibly. This was enough to prove that the medicinal efficacy of Lu Ruoxuan as a medicinal catalyst was not even 1% of what she expected. In the midst of despair, Lu Ruoxuan suddenly felt her own tongue slowly growing out. She was overjoyed and quickly rolled to the edge of the giant cauldron. She climbed up with both hands and screamed, "June!" Before she could finish speaking, Ling Qingwan suddenly raised her hand and cut her throat with a sword. She sneered, "What are you shouting for? A lowly thing like you, being able to be this fairy's medicinal catalyst is your blessing." Lu Ruoxuan fell back into the giant cauldron with a bang. Her mouth was wide open, and blood spurted out from her broken throat and gaping mouth. The blood fell into the giant cauldron and was roasted by the scorching temperature, making a sizzling sound. Lu Ruoxuan's eyes were wide open, staring at the top of the cave. Her eyes were filled with resentment, unwillingness, and despair. Another 2 hours passed. Finally, there was only a small skull left in the giant cauldron. After burning for about a quarter of an hour, even the skull was burned into powder and blended into the thick and smelly blood. As the silver hornwood continued to burn, the blood and flesh gradually condensed and slowly turned into a blood-red bead. It spun around and fell on the edge of the giant cauldron. "Master, this is the medicinal catalyst for the magnificent quicksand." When Ling Qingwan picked up the blood-red bead, even her hands were trembling. A pair of insatiable eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Ling Yuexia took a look and saw that this bead looked blood-red, but it was actually full of impurities and cracks. Its quality could be said to be extremely poor. But no matter what, the medicinal catalyst for the magnificent quicksand was obtained. Ling Yuexia looked at Ling Qingwan and revealed a kind smile. "Master will refine the magnificent quicksand for you right now. Qingwan, in the future, the revitalization of our Tiani men will depend on you." Ling Qingwan desperately nodded, her eyes sparkling. "Master, don't worry. When I become the mistress of the polar domain, Tiani men will definitely bask in the glory." Just as Ling Yuexia was about to bring the guiding herbs to the alchemy room, a boy stumbled in from outside. His eyes were filled with alarm as he screamed, Sect Master, it's bad." The people from the polar domain had killed their way in. "The Emperor is charging in." "What did you say?" Ling Yuexia widened her eyes in disbelief. Polar domain, how could polar domain kill their way in? With a leap, she left the cave and arrived at the top of the highest hall of Tiani men, looking down. With a single glance, he felt as if his scalp was about to explode. His vision darkened, and he nearly fell from the palace. Only to see that the Tiani men's mountain protecting Great Array had actually disappeared. However, she, the person who controlled the Great Mountain guarding formation, was completely unaware of it. She did not even know how it had disappeared. In the surroundings of the Tiani men's inner sect, there was a dense mass of black-clothed immortals. In the Shushan continent, there wasn't a single person who didn't know what these immortals dressed in uniform and their orderly movements signified. That was the polar domain's fastest blade, Profound Division. Within the Profound Division were all the trusted aides of the polar domain's emperor. Chapter 1710. Only when Di Jun really wants to kill, and wants to go to war, would the people of Xian Division be dispatched. Ling Yuexia's body sways, and she finally falls down from the hall, falling heavily to the ground. So, this is the polar domain trying to kill Tiani men. "Master!" Ling Qingwan and the others rush over to help her up. "Master, what's going on? Why would the polar domain suddenly attack my Tiani men?" Ling Yuexia's complexion is deathly pale, and she mutters in a low voice, "Impossible. Absolutely impossible. My Tiani men is clearly indebted to the polar domain. Di Jun, how could Di Mingju treat us like this? What's going on?" Just then, the two black-clothed children who just brought Lu Ruoxuan back run over, battered out of their wits. Their faces are full of fear. Master, Master, Master and Master's wife are dead, their soul lamps are extinguished. Ling Yuexia sucks in a mouthful of cold air. How could this be? Suddenly, her horrified gaze abruptly turns to the polar domain's army surrounding Tiani men, and she can't help but shiver all over. Could it be that the matter of Qingwan killing Jun Mayan has been discovered? Or could it be that the truth of that year, the truth that Di Mingju absolutely couldn't know, was discovered by him? Ling Yuexia's complexion is deathly pale, and she can't stop trembling. Seeing the densely packed army of the polar domain's Xian division coming closer and closer, an extreme panic wells up in her heart. No! She can't die. Tian Men must not be broken in her hands. Where there's life, there's hope. Ling Yuexia pulls Ling Qingwan, go, follow me. Ling Qingwan's face still has a bit of confusion. When she's dragged by Ling Yuexia into the secret room, and then into the dark corridor, Ling Qingwan finally can't help but ask, Master, where are we going? Where? Ling Yuexia roars hysterically, where else can we go? Of course we're running for our lives. Ling Qingwan, running for our lives. Why should we run for our lives? The magnificent quicksand is about to be successfully refined. As long as I take it and change into Jun Mayan's appearance, Di Jun will be head over heels for me. Master, we don't need to escape at all. Ling Yuexia sneers, the refinement of the wind magnificent quicksand needs at least half a month. Do you think that the Emperor will allow our Tian men to survive for half a month? No. No way. Monarch has feelings for me, he wouldn't be so cruel to me. Ling Qingwan grabbed Ling Yuexia's hand and said excitedly, Master, let's go back. As long as I plead with the Emperor, he will definitely give me another half a month. At that time, so long as I have the magnificent quicksand, would I have to worry about the Emperor Monarch not falling head over heels for me? Ling Yuexia looked at her coldly. Are you coming with me or not? Ling Qingwan shook her head repeatedly. Master, you know how difficult it is to collect the magnificent sand's spiritual herbs and immortal herbs. Even if I have to leave, I must still bring those spiritual herbs and immortal herbs back. As she spoke, she was about to turn around. Ling Yuexia's last shred of patience finally ran out. She suddenly raised her hand and a whip appeared in her hand. She ruthlessly lashed it towards Ling Qingwan's body and face. Ling Qingwan's face and body immediately turned into several pieces of flesh. In a split second, her originally elegant complexion became as terrifying and sinister as a ghost. She kept rolling on the ground, wailing and begging for mercy. But Ling Yuexia's gaze when looking at her was like looking at a dirty ant, without the slightest bit of emotion. Chapter 1711. It wasn't until she had vented enough that she wrapped the whip around Ling Qingwan's neck and sneered, Ling Qingwan, you better remember this, I gave you this life. If I want you to live, you live. If I want you to die, you die. If I want you to be a dog, you can only obediently crawl on the ground. From now on, if you dare to disobey me again, don't blame me for being impolite. At this time, Ling Qingwan was already on the verge of death. She couldn't even hear what Ling Yuexia was saying. She could only cry and beg for mercy. Due to extreme fear, feces and urine flowed into her crotch, and the passage was filled with a foul smell. Ling Yuexia frowned in disgust. Just like that, he wrapped his arm around her neck and dragged her to the other end of the tunnel. As she nears the door, Ling Yuexia turns around to look in the direction of Tian Men. She gnashes her teeth and mutters, Di Mingju, Shen musician, Ling Yuexia, will never admit defeat like this. Just wait for me. As long as she had the magnificent quicksand as a medicinal catalyst, she would one day be able to make a comeback. On this day, in the northern domain of the Shushan continent, Tian Men is burnt to ashes by a raging fire. The disciples of Tian Men raised their swords and surrendered as soon as the people of Polar Domain's Xian division entered the sect. There wasn't even a single person who was stubbornly resisting. The Polar Domain did not exterminate these Tian Men's disciples and allowed them to disperse on their own. Tian Men's sect master Ling Yuexia and Ling Qingwan were nowhere to be found. The Polar Domain issued a kill order to attack Ling Yuexia and Ling Qingwan. From then on, the Shushan continent no longer had the Tian Men. Before Di Mingju leaves, he uses his divine power to place a seal on Xiao Bao and the Bixia sword. It was mainly to seal the aura of Xiao Bao's immortal physique. in order to prevent the people of the ghost domain from coveting it. As for the Bixia sword, Di Mingju has also noticed its peculiarities. It was clearly the intelligence of a godly monarch artifact, but it had the faint aura of a sacred ancestral artifact. However, calling it a sacred ancestral artifact was not entirely accurate. Even a sacred ancestral artifact could not give birth to an item spirit. At the very least, only the highest grade magic tools in the Xuxian continent, which are heavenly treasures, can give birth to a tool spirit. And the probability of that happening was extremely low. Even if some magic treasures gave birth to an artifact spirit, they usually only had the intelligence of a child. But Baixia's intelligence was unbelievably high. Sometimes, even Mu Yan and Di Mingju can't understand what he's saying. According to Di Mingju's thoughts, he doesn't want Xiao Bao to use such a dangerous and treacherous sword. But now, it had become his son's contracted flying sword. The fates of a man and a sword were linked together. Therefore, Di Mingju can only think of a way to seal a part of the Bixia sword's aura. From then on, in the eyes of others, the Bixia sword was just an ordinary flying sword. At the very least, the people of the cultivation continent would definitely not be able to recognize that this sword was a divine monarch weapon. When Bixia realized that his aura had been concealed, he was overjoyed. Originally, he was still incomparably fearful of Di Mingju, this overbearing CEO Great Demon King. He couldn't wait for the little master and mistress to be as far away from him as possible. But now, he happily urged his young master to hug his thigh. What's wrong with stepfather? A stepfather can also give you the gentleness of spring. A stepfather is also a flower. Such a golden thigh, let alone as a stepson, even if it was as a grandson, would still hug him tightly. Little master, I'm telling you, other people said to look for potential stalks. Your stepfather isn't a fucking potential stalk, he's basically a leading stalk. You must definitely tell mistress to hold on tight. If he's snatched away halfway, it would really be a big loss. Chapter 17:12. In the future, when little master becomes a rich second-generation heir, I will be your leg pendant, the kind that can warm your bed, sing, and act cute. Xiao Bao rolled his eyes, slapped the noisy artifact spirit back into the space, and turned to find his martial uncles for a spar. Su Zi, on the other hand, had made a perfect recovery after a few days of recuperation. When Xing Danqing saw Su Zi jumping around and even using a flying sword, she was so shocked that her jaw almost dropped to the ground. Heavens! Su Zi's heart disease was actually cured by Jun Mayan. What kind of joke was that? Isn't Jun Mayan the ruler of Qin Yun? Wasn't he supposed to be assisting the zither player? Wasn't he a talisman master? How could she cure the heart disease that even the divine doctor of Ziyun realm could not cure? If a person could become like this, how could he give others a way out? The saddest thing was that such a heaven-defying student was not from their Phoenix Sky Academy. If Jun Mayan was from their Phoenix Sky Academy, then at the Dear Cry banquet, held by the Dragon Soaring Academy next year, their Phoenix Sky would definitely be able to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. What kind of luck did the Starry School have to meet such a monstrous student? Oh, it wasn't just one. Including the 5-year-old child, there were 8 of them. Xing Danqing was so jealous that she wanted to cry. Therefore, when he saw that Su Zi had recovered, he immediately urged Su Zi to return to Fengtian with him. In fact, he was going to escort Su Zi back to the Su family in the Ziyun realm. Su Zi's health was beyond cure, and his influence in the Su family was not small. Now that he had completely recovered, it was very likely that he would directly change the structure of the Su family. Su Zi was reluctant to part with her, but he also knew that now that he had recovered from his mental illness, he definitely had to return to the Su family in the Ziyun domain. He tugged on Mayan's sleeve and refused to let go. Little Jijia, can you come back to Xian Realm with me? I guarantee that even if you want to go to Dragon Soaring Academy, I will definitely think of a way to let you in. Mu Yen smiled helplessly. Z, you've said this 180 times already. Su Zi's face fell immediately, and his clear eyes dimmed. That's because you won't agree to it, little missy. Mu Yen, I will go to the Xian Realm, but not now. When Dragon Soar Academy holds the Dear Cry banquet, I will look for you. Only then did Su Zi's mood improve a little. Then don't forget, little missy. You must inform me when you reach the Xian Realm. Saying that, he takes out a paper crane and gives it to Mu Yen. That paper crane was somewhat similar to the messenger paper cranes that Mu Yen had seen before, but it was not white but purple. Its shape was also much more exquisite than ordinary messenger paper cranes. This is a third-grade messenger crane. As long as it's within the purple cloud realm and it's not a mystic realm or a mustard seed space, I'll be able to receive your message. Su Zi couldn't help but remind her over and over again, little missy, you must look for me when you arrive at the Xian Realm. Mu Yan's ears are going to get calluses from listening. She doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. Good, I'll remember it all. Z, have you forgotten that you haven't fulfilled your promise to me? Even if you don't miss me, I will definitely go and find you. Su Zi stares blankly for a moment, then immediately remembers that Mu Yen let her spiritual pet borrow his body. Such a thing, ordinary people would certainly be in fear and trepidation. Now that his mental illness has been cured, he would avoid it like the plague. Chapter 17:13. But Su Zi's eyes brighten all of a sudden, even the tear mole under his eye shines brightly. It's as if he's suddenly found a bond with Mu Yen, and knows that he won't be unable to see the little sister forever, so he's happy. Then, little sister, we have a deal. You must come find me. At that time. He glances at Xing Danqing and lowers his voice. At that time, I'll lend my body to little sister's spiritual pet, no matter how many days. As soon as he finished speaking, Xing Danqing urged him again. Even Lu Jinhang comes forward and tugs at Su Zi. Only then does Su Zi hang his head listlessly, looking back every 3 steps as he follows Lu Jinhang and Xing Danqing onto the spaceship. Lu Jinhang cups his hands at Mu Yen, see you at the dear feast of Dragon Soar Academy. After a pause, he says again, at that time, our Team Monarch will be even stronger, and definitely won't lose to your carefree team. Mu Yen smiles and waves at them, then watches them leave amidst Su Zi's teary eyes. Qi Huang's sneering voice reaches her ears, bah, pretending to be a pitiful pretty boy, no matter how many days. Blarg. Does this sage want to use that broken body of his? Mu Yen touches her forehead, Qi Huang, you'll still need to borrow someone else's body in the future, so don't take advantage of it and pretend to be obedient. Qi Huang immediately flies into a rage, Jun Mu Yen, you bastard. Do you really like that pretty boy? You actually favor him and not me. Mu Yen, I'm really fucking stupid, not learning from my lesson and talking to this guy again. Mu Yen ignores Qi Huang's unreasonable behavior, and is about to go find her son. As soon as she turns around, she's met with a pair of cold and hostile eyes, almost startling her. I say, Xing Lang, don't you know that scaring people can scare people to death? Mu Yen glares at Xing Lang who's not far away. After Di Mingju left, Xing Lang silently went to live in the Yaoguang branch. Of course, it's to protect Mu Yen and Xiao Bao. Xing Lang is half dead with anger. What he wants the most is to follow Di Mingju, to follow his most beloved emperor to gallop on the battlefield, unhindered. Who would want to follow this bitch and protect her? Unfortunately, he had already angered Jun Shang time and time again because he hated Jun Mayan. Jun Shang has already placed him on the key observation list. If there was the slightest mistake, Xing Lang believed that Jun Shang would definitely skin him alive. No, it's not a big deal to skin him alive. What Xing Lang was most afraid of was that Jun Shang would directly expel him from the polar domain, henceforth not wanting him anymore. As long as he thought of this possibility, the Star Wolf was scared out of his wits and did not dare to act rashly anymore. However, Xing Lang was extremely unwilling to have him personally protect Jun Mayan and her little bastard child born from her adulterous husband. Therefore, he had been hiding in a corner of the Alcade institution. His divine sense covered the entire Alcade branch. In any case, he only needs to guarantee that Jun Mayan and her son won't be in danger. Who knew that when he used his divine sense on Mayan's side today, he would actually discover that Mayan, this fickle woman, was pulling on another man, tangling with him. Furthermore, it was actually the gigolo that he had caught in the act last time. Xing Lang immediately flares up in anger, and he rushes over without thinking. Hearing Mayan's words, Xing Lang restrains his anger and sneers. Only a person with a guilty conscience would be distracted. Jun Mayan, you wouldn't want to do something that would let Jun Shang down, right? I'm warning you, if you dare to betray Jun Shang, Balala. Chapter 17-14. Star Wolf started a new round of threats and preaching. Mu Yan rolls her eyes and turns around to leave. She had already figured out Star Wolf's methods. This guy is Di Mingju's brainless fan through and through, and has already reached the level of a pervert. She must be out of her mind to reason with him. Xing Lang sees that Mu Yan doesn't have the slightest bit of shame or repentance, and still wants to leave. He immediately flares up and teleports in front of her. Jun Mayan, are you listening or not? Do you know how good His Majesty is to you? For you, His Majesty even rejected the marriage alliance with the Demon Lord's daughter. Do you know how great the power of the polar domain will be if the Demon Sovereign and the polar domain unite by marriage? Mu Yan suddenly stopped and narrowed her eyes. Marry the daughter of the Demon Lord. When Xing Lang saw that she finally faced his problem, he couldn't help but laugh complacently. That's right, do you know what kind of existence the Devil Lord's daughter is? If Lord marries the daughter of the Demon Sovereign, no, you don't need to marry her. As long as Lord agrees to enter into a 3-year marriage contract with the Demon Sovereign's daughter, the polar domain will be able to form an alliance with the demon race and completely suppress our enemy, the Nether domain. But because of you, His Lordship completely refused to consider the Demon Sovereign's daughter. Now that the Demon Sovereign's daughter has already entered into an engagement with someone from the Nether realm, the alliance between the demon race and the Nether realm will naturally pose a great threat to our polar domain. Mu Yan's brows slightly wrinkle. Why didn't Di Mingju tell me? Star Wolf sneered. You are just a small cultivator from the lower realm. What did Lord Shang say to you? What do you know? Now you should know how good Jun Shang is to you, right? In the end, you didn't even know how to be grateful. You actually hooked up with other men over and over again. You're simply a promiscuous and shameless woman. Mother. Just as Star Wolf was cursing excitedly, a clear and cold voice of a child rang out. Then, a small figure pounced into Mu Yan's arms like lightning. She then turned her head and glared at him fiercely. Mother, where did this bad guy come from? Is he bullying you? Star Wolf's curses were still on the tip of his tongue. At this moment, when he suddenly met the little boy's big, icy blue eyes, he was immediately stuck, unable to say a word for a long time. Where did this kid come from? How could there be a pair of eyes so similar to the god monarch's? The moment he saw him, he almost thought that he was looking at the young emperor. Although Star Wolf had never seen the Emperor Lord when he was young, he had seen Mo Ju in Tianguang ruins. Apart from the facial features, the little boy in front of him is different from Di Mingju. But that pair of eyes, as well as that chilly aura and pressure, were exactly the same as their Jun Shang. Xiao Bao frowned slightly and said coldly, "Were you cursing my mother just now? Who are you?" Mu Yan reaches out to stroke Xiao Bao's head and says with a smile, "He's your father's subordinate." Xiao Bao immediately shouted, "Daddy doesn't have such subordinates. Daddy's subordinates are Uncle Han Yi and Sister Ing Mei, they're all good people." In other words, the person in front of him was a bad person. Star Wolf's mouth was wide open, and only reacted after a long while. He stammered, He is your son. This is the son of June Mayan and her adulterous husband. The bastard he mentioned. Mu Yan says unhurriedly, "Yes." Chapter 17:15. How is this possible? So similar, him, how could he be your son? Star Wolf was so excited that he couldn't speak coherently. This scoundrel actually dared to question whether he was his mother's son. Xiao Bao was even more furious. He couldn't endure it any longer. With a wave of his hand, he summoned the Bixia sword and fiercely attacked the Star Wolf. Star Wolf naturally didn't dare to fight with Little Bao. Not to mention that his mission in the Yaoguang branch was to follow the Emperor's orders to protect Mayan and her son. Moreover, facing Little Bao, the Star Wolf's die-hard fan heart that was restless towards the Emperor was ignited again. This is obviously the son of the June Mayan that he hates the most, but he is inexplicably a little timid, and also a little eager to get close to him. He absolutely could not bear to injure him. However, Star Wolf's thoughts had only spun for a short while before it was completely replaced by shock and astonishment. Star Wolf originally thought that even if Xiao Bao's eyes and imposing manner were similar to Di Mingju's, but how powerful could a 5-year-old child be? Even if he just stood there and let him hit him, the attacks that landed on his body would only be like tickles. However, reality gave him a heavy slap in the face. When the Bixia sword flew in front of him, Star Wolf felt that something was wrong. What was surging around him was not spiritual power, but solid immortal power. Star Wolf was completely dumbfounded. This is the Shuzhen continent, apart from people like Jun Shang who have cultivated godly power. When other immortals came to the cultivation continent, which one of them didn't have the intelligence to use spiritual energy, but couldn't use immortal energy? But right now, what was surging around him was clearly rich immortal power. As such, there was only one possibility. Xiao Bao was born with an immortal physique, just like the Emperor. Moreover, he had already broken through the shackles of cultivators, forging a false immortal body. But this was a 5-year-old baby. On the cultivation continent, many cultivators still couldn't get rid of their mortal bodies and forge an immortal body even after they were 200 to 300 years old. But this kid was already an immortal at the age of 5. This caused Star Wolf's mind to be in a mess. And that ordinary-looking sword made Star Wolf even more incredulous. An ordinary magic treasure from the cultivation continent actually made him feel a terrible threat. How could this be? Even if it was the best divine weapon in the cultivation continent, it was just a piece of scrap metal in the eyes of the Star Wolf. Before this sword came close, Star Wolf didn't care about it at all. It was only when he got close to the sword that he sensed the murderous aura emanating from the sword that he was shocked. The baleful aura of the exorcism sword was not the baleful aura of an ordinary fiendish cultivator or fiend. Instead, it was a kind of scorching baleful yang qi. When Xiao Bao infused his immortal energy into the sword, he activated the evil warding sword's murderous aura. It made people feel as if even the spiritual power and air around them were burning and boiling. Star Wolf hurriedly tried to dodge. However, being caught off guard, he had no way of dodging and could only awkwardly roll away. In the end, before he could crawl up, Little Bao's attacks had already descended once more like raindrops. A third-stage false immortal would naturally not be able to cause any harm to the Star Wolf. But the problem was that Star Wolf didn't dare to resist. Therefore, he could only be chased around the square by little treasure. The scene was especially lively. When Luo Yu came over from the training ground, she saw the chaotic scene, and then looked at Mu Yen, who was leisurely lying on the side, drinking tea and watching the show. She was confused. Sixth senior sister, who is Xiao Bao fighting with? Did someone bully our Xiao Bao? Chapter 17-16. If there's really someone bullying their cute little nephew, then they absolutely have to be taught a good lesson. Mayan hands Luoyu a spirit fruit, and unhurriedly says, "Rest assured, who can bully Xiao Bao?" Luoyu thinks so too. Their nephew is so strong, so awesome, who can bully him? Can't they see that the person in the square is looking for his teeth all over the floor from being whipped by their precious nephew? Thinking like this, Luoyu also calms down. She happily munches on the spirit fruit that Mayan gave her, happily enjoying the sight of their nephew whipping people all over the square. Xiao Bao chases after Xing Lang for an hour, only then does he feel the resentment in his heart. He holds the Bixia sword that's almost as big as his small body, and coldly looks at Xing Lang. "Did father tell you to stay in Yaoguang branch to protect Nangqin?" Xing Lang naturally wouldn't be injured by Xiao Bao. With his cultivation, Xiao Bao's meager strength wouldn't even enter his eyes. But at this very moment, facing Xiao Bao's questioning, his forehead is faintly oozing with sweat. It's like he's not facing a 5-year-old child, but the real future little master of the polar domain. It's only now that Xing Lang realizes Han Ye's words, "I hope you still have the ability to call the little master a bastard when you see him." With great difficulty, Xing Lang presses down the churning thoughts in his heart, and lowers his eyes. "Yes." Xiao Bao sneers, "So, this is how you protect Nangqin? Who gave you the courage to actually dare insult my Nangqin?" Xing Lang opens his mouth. I didn't. Of course, he doesn't want to insult Jun Mayan. In fact, after being fooled by Jun Mayan so many times, and almost being expelled from the polar domain by Jun Shang, he doesn't dare. He just wants to warn Jun Mayan, to let this woman remember Jun Shang's kindness. This, as he warns, his tone becomes a bit heavy. Xiao Bao slightly narrows his eyes. "You mean, I'm slandering you?" "No, this subordinate wouldn't dare." Xing Lang raises his head to meet Xiao Bao's cold, ice-blue eyes. He shivers all over, almost kneeling down and calling Jun Shang, out of conditioned reflex. "Xiao Bao, then do you admit that you were wrong?" Star Wolf had the heart to refute, but the moment he saw little Bao, he unconsciously cowered in his heart. This subordinate knows his mistake. Xiao Bao immediately turns to look at Mayan. "Nangqin, how do you think we should punish him?" Mu Yen beamed and said, "Then punish him to wear women's clothing for 3 days. Speaking of which, she couldn't forget Star Wolf's attire in the little cockroach. Xing Lang flies into a rage and curses, "Jun Mayan, don't go too far." Little Treasure pointed his evil warding sword at him, his blue eyes blazing with rage. "How dare you yell at my mother?" Star Wolf's body instantly stiffened. He looked at Xiao Bao with a wooden expression and said through gritted teeth, "Can you change the punishment conditions?" Xiao Bao said coldly, "Wear female clothing for 10 days. Star Wolf flew into a rage out of humiliation. "Why should I listen to you?" Xiao Bao slowly straightened his back. His crisp and childish voice sounded out word by word, but it carried boundless majesty. "Because I'm Daddy's son." Star Wolf's heart suddenly jumped, something seemed to explode in his mind. Soon after, all the blood in his body boiled. Since a long time ago, he had envied Elder Chang for being able to stay by Di Jun's side and witness Di Jun's growth. If only he had been able to assist Di Jun when he was young, protect him, and witness Di Jun's road to becoming a hegemon. But in the end, this idea was just wishful thinking. Chapter 17:17. However, at this very moment, looking at the exquisite and beautiful Xiao Bao before him, Xing Lang feels as if he's really seeing the young Di Jun. Moreover, it's a living Jun Shang who can protect him as he grows up, and witness him complete his ambition. Xing Lang swallows, and finally bends his knees. He slowly kneels down on one knee, bowing and saying, "This subordinate obeys." In order to be able to accompany the future Di Jun of the polar domain, what's the point of wearing women's clothing for 10 days? Mayan immediately says excitedly, "Shao Qi, quickly go to fifth brother's room and pick a few more women's clothes for Xing Lang. Pick the most gorgeous and sexiest ones." Luo Yu jumped up from her chair, completely enjoying the show. He, sixth senior sister, don't worry. I will definitely choose something that will satisfy you. Xing Lang, Jun Mayan, you. Before he could finish, Xiao Bao glares at him. Xing Lang immediately becomes listless, forcibly swallowing back the words at the tip of his tongue. Forget it, forget it. It's more important to let the little master calm down. Seeing Xing Lang's deflated appearance, Mayan smiles with uncontrollable joy. She pulls her baby son over and kisses him heavily. Sure enough, after Xiao Bao came back, her luck is really getting better and better. The star wolf, who was hard to deal with and stubborn in the past, was easily dealt with. Now, she can even see this guy wearing women's clothing. Life is really full of joy. The Tian family is now second only to the Nalen, Murong, and Lu families in Azure Blue World. But in fact, more than 10 years ago, the Tian family was still far from being on par with the 5 great families. Not to mention, it's above the Feng and Duan families. The reason is this year's Tian family's master, Tian Haiba. Tian Haiba was originally just an illegitimate son of the Tian family's master, and simply couldn't be seen in public. But he is extremely shrewd and scheming. On the outside, he looks honest and sincere, making people unguarded, but in the dark, he's incomparably sinister and ruthless. In the end, because he climbed into the limelight of a noble and Xian realm, he killed all of his brothers and sisters, and sat on the position of Tian family's master. After becoming the Tian family's master, Tian Haiba was strict and brutal, not allowing the slightest bit of disloyalty under his hands. Externally, they recruited talents everywhere and annexed the businesses of other small clans. So long as those cultivators that were recruited were slightly unwilling, they would be cruelly suppressed, and in the end, they would either submit obediently or have their cultivations destroyed and driven into a corner, and their fates were extremely miserable. As for those small clans that were annexed, their families were torn apart, and their people died. In just a dozen or so years, the Tian family had relied on sucking the blood of others to quickly gain a foothold among the great families of Azure Blue World. However, he was far from satisfied with such an achievement. Tian Haiba had been looking for all sorts of opportunities, wanting to swallow up the other great clans as well, finally becoming the overlord of the Azure Blue domain. He even wanted to enter the Purple Cloud domain and gain a foothold there. And now, what he urgently needed was something that he could present to the benefactor of the Xian realm. He wanted him to lend him a helping hand. Patriarch. A subordinate hurriedly walked in and bowed. There's news from the Azure Cloud world. Tian Haiba hugged the bewitching beauty in his arms. His big hands moved up and down her breasts, kneading them wantonly as he said casually, "How is it? Those sects that don't know what's good for them have finally tasted bitterness and are willing to submit." Cold sweat broke out on the subordinate's forehead. After a long while, he stammered, "Patriarch, the matter of unifying the Azure Cloud world, I'm afraid it'll be a little troublesome." Chapter 17:18. What did you say? Tian Haiba tightened his grip on the beauty in his arms. The coquettish beauty screamed as her face contorted from the pain. However, Tian Haibo grabbed her by the neck and threw her to the side. He said sternly, "Speak clearly. What happened? Are the people of the Azure Cloud world really that tough? They refuse to submit despite being suppressed like this." Saying that, he raised his foot and kicked his subordinate. "You bunch of trash, how do you do things?" The subordinate rolled on the ground from the kick. His face was covered in blood, but he did not dare to wipe it. He prostrated on the ground and said while trembling, "Family head, spare me. Family head, spare me. Tell me, what's going on? Family head, we were about to succeed." The subordinate hurriedly said in fear and trepidation, "Other than the largest Leaf Fire sect and Mountain Breaking sect, the other small sects, such as Misty Cloud sect, Whole Unity sect, could no longer withstand our Tian family suppression. They had decided to submit and become our Tian family subsidiary. But who knew that a faction would suddenly appear in the Azure Cloud world? They went around lobbying, and finally, they managed to persuade those small sects and family clans to give up their allegiance to our Tian family, and instead, form an alliance with that faction." The veins on Tian Haibo's forehead throbbed. Finally, he could not bear it any longer. He stepped forward and ruthlessly stepped on the subordinate's back. With a cracking sound, the subordinate let out a blood-curdling scream and immediately fainted. But very quickly, he was awoken by a basin of ice water. What entered his ears was Tian Haibo's furious roar, "You bunch of trash, how do you do things? A mere faction of the Azure Cloud world, yet you can't do anything to them. A mere ant dares to block my Tian family's path. We just need to crush them to death, but what did you do? The plan I plotted for a year was destroyed just like that. I think all of you are sick of living. Family head, spare me." The subordinate cried bitterly and loudly begged for mercy. "It's really not that we don't want to crush that group of people, but that newly emerged force is extremely scattered. They come and go like ghosts, and their identities and backgrounds are all a mystery. No one knows where they came from, and we can't find their weaknesses. Furthermore, the most important thing is that they have the support of an incredible big shot behind them. For a mere green cloud world, we really don't dare to offend that big shot. That's why we can only retreat temporarily and come back to report to the family head. Then, we'll find another way." Tian Haibo said in a towering rage, "A mere Azure Cloud world, merely a bunch of trash. What kind of major character can they have connections with, to actually dare oppose my Tian family? What kind of force is it?" This subordinate only heard that force called themselves the Dark Flame Army. There were at least 1,000 of them. But the strange thing was that these people seemed to have appeared out of thin air. No one knew where they came from. Some people have also speculated that they might be ascended cultivators from the Yenwu continent. But that's not right. The number of people who have ascended in the Yenwu continent over the past hundreds and thousands of years, I'm afraid it still doesn't have this number. Tian Haibo frowned. Dark Flame Army. Never heard of it. So what if they have a lot of people? It's just a motley crew. Don't tell me that an entire Tian army can't destroy them. The subordinate shivered. No, it's not that we can't destroy them, but we don't dare to. Chapter 17-19. Although their origins are unknown, one of them seems to have a great relationship with a great figure of our Azure Blue domain. This is also the reason why the Misty Cloud sect and the others ultimately betrayed us and refused to accept the recruitment of our Tian family. Tian Haibo gritted his teeth. Which great figure is it? Could it be the Nalan family? No. The subordinate said softly, It's the richest man in Azure Blue domain, Zhu Fugue. Tian Haibo was startled, then flew into a rage. Zhu Fugue, that old dog, dares to obstruct my Tian family. But no matter how furious he was, Tian Haiba could not let his subordinate go to Azure Cloud Domain to do anything. Because Zhu Fugui's cultivation was not high, and his family power was not strong. But he had a very frightening background. That background was so strong that even though the Zhu family clearly did not have a single expert, and had mountains of crystals in the family, and controlled the major economic lifelines of Azure Blue Domain, no one dared to act against the Zhu family. Now that the Nether Flame Army that robbed the Sky Price Dao was related to the Zhu family. No matter how much Tian Haiba hated and was unwilling, he could only give up. Thinking that the thing that he had planned for half a year, that had almost fallen into his hands, was forcibly taken away, Tian Haiba was seething with anger. He fiercely slammed his palm on the table. The mahogany table was smashed into pieces. Get out of here. The subordinate scrambled to escape, but at the door, he bumped into a horse-faced man. Lord Luo Tian. The subordinate cried out in surprise when he saw him, then said in fear and trepidation, Lord Luo Tian, there's an accident in Azure Cloud Domain, the Patriarch is furious inside. Hearing this, Luo Tian did not have much fear, but laughed, don't worry, the news I brought back will definitely improve the Patriarch's mood. Luo Tian quickly entered the room, respectfully bowing to Tian Haiba, greetings to the Patriarch. Seeing him, Tian Haiba's expression did not improve at all, but was so gloomy, Di Yudao, that trash, as the Dean of Sky Academy, can't even handle such a small matter. It was a pity that the noble of the Purple Cloud Realm had entrusted such an important matter to that good-for-nothing Di Yudao to handle, and had even trusted him. If those matters were given to him, if he could really make friends with the noble of Purple Cloud Domain. What was Zhu Fugui? What was the Dark Flame Army of the Blue Cloud World? Nalan family and Lu family were nothing. As long as he had the help of a benefactor, he, Tian Haiba, would definitely be able to unify the Azure Blue World and become the sole ruler here. Patriarch, please calm down. Luo Tian hurriedly said, but this time, there are still benefits. This subordinate has discovered someone. Alone? Yes. Luo Tian's eyes shone brightly, his long and narrow horse-like face trembling slightly due to extreme excitement. As long as we have this person, this subordinate believes that our Tian family's business will definitely be able to reach new heights. And Patriarch, you will also have the opportunity to get acquainted with that noble person. Tian Haiba finally lost his composure. Who are you talking about? Luo Tian smiled mysteriously, family head, have you heard of the Lord of Azure Sky, Yi Liangqin? Tian Haiba, of course I have. He was the most famous person in Azure Blue Realm right now. Didn't they say that all the great clans in the Azure Blue world searched everywhere but couldn't find a trace of him? Suddenly, he paused. Did you find it? Chapter 1720. Luo Tian said, yes, family leader. I went to help Di Yudao this time. Although I failed, I also discovered a big secret. That is the identity of the leader of the Qingyun sect, Yi Liangqin. She is the student from the Alcade branch who shone in the Jasper Forest gathering, Jun Mayan. Tian Haiba did not participate in the Jasper Forest gathering because he was busy with the Qingyun world. However, he heard his subordinates report about the Jasper Forest gathering and the Three Schools tournament. Especially the female cultivator called Jun Mayan. She could be said to be on par with the leader of the Qingyun sect, Yi Liangqin. They were known as the Azure Blue Duo. There were even rumors that Jun Mayan was Yi Liangqin. However, it was just a guess. No one could prove it. Many people found it hard to believe. If Jun Mayan is really Yi Liangqin, then this woman is too monstrous. Tian Haiba suppressed his excitement and stared at his trusted subordinate. Are you sure that Jun Mayan is Yi Liangqin? It's absolutely true. This subordinate heard it from her own mouth. Also, Luo Tian told him about how Jun Mayan drew the soul-locking talisman in the air during the battle with Di Yudao. In this world, other than Yi Liangqin who won the finals of the Golden Heavenly Light competition, who else has the ability to draw such a powerful talisman? The more Luo Tian spoke, the more excited he became. Patriarch, let's not talk about this woman's devastatingly beautiful appearance and talisman drawing skills. Just the zither in her hands alone is something that even the Flowing Moon Sect's Hall Master wants to snatch. That must be an incredible treasure. It might even be a divine weapon. Family leader, think about it. If we can recruit Jun Mayan to our Tian clan and get her to draw talismans for us, then give her Guqin to the nobles. Do we have to worry that our Tian clan cannot prosper? Tian Haibo got more excited as he listened. He could not control his emotions. Just like what Luo Tian said, if Jun Mayan was really Yi Liangqin. If they could recruit this woman, their Tian clan would be killing 3 birds with 1 stone. However, Jun Mayan is a student of the Starry School. To recruit her immediately, I'm afraid, clan leader, you forgot that Di Yudao is already dead. There are only a few nascent soul cultivators left in the Starry School. Luo Tian smiled slyly. I've already found out. Xing Danqing has just returned to the Fengtian Academy, and Ning Yaoguang, who had escaped from the seal, has also left the Starry School. Now, the Starry School is like a group of dragons without a leader. Tian Haibo takes a deep breath. All right, you take people to recruit Mayan. No. No. For such an important talent, it is better for this family head to go personally. If she listens obediently and joins the Tian clan, then it's fine. But if she's stubborn, haha, then don't blame me for taking the Starry School under the Tian clan. Famed clan lord. Luo Tian sucked up to him loudly. What is the Qingyun realm? How can it be mentioned in the same breath as the Starry School, a 1,000-year-old school? If we can make the Starry School become a subsidiary of the Tian clan, then the Tian clan's unification of the azure blue world will be just around the corner. These days, Mayan had been living a very comfortable life. Especially when she saw the cross-dressed Star Wolf shopping with her and attending public classes. Even though he was clearly furious, he did not dare to do anything. She was overjoyed. Not to mention, Star Wolf did not look ugly at all in cross-dressing. On the contrary, he looked very handsome. When the few of them were shopping, they even attracted the teasing and flirting with them. Chapter 1721. Mayan and the others almost choked with laughter at Star Wolf's embarrassment. Of course, that debauchee died miserably in the end. 10 days later, Star Wolf finally took off his female clothing. Mayan was extremely regretful. She wanted Xiao Bao to order Star Wolf to wear it for 2 more days. How could Star Wolf not know of her evil intentions? He turns around and disappears without a trace. Mayan hugs Xiao Bao and bursts into laughter. She occasionally eats the spirit fruits that Xiao Bao cut for her. Her days are really too good. Just then, a flying boat slowly descends from the sky. The new deacon of the academic council quickly steps forward and salutes Mayan. Miss June, there is an honored guest waiting for you at the school of the Emperor Star. Please go and meet him. Tian Haibo already had a preliminary impression of Jun Mayan from Luo Tian's description. But when he really saw her, he was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out. It's not just because Jun Mayan's appearance is too beautiful. She's 100 times more beautiful than all the mediocre beauties that the Tian family has gathered. It's also because the girl in front of him looks too young. For the cultivators of the Shuzhen continent, 25 years old is just the beginning of adulthood. Generally, as long as one's cultivation is a bit higher, people in their 50s or 60s will look like they're in their early 30s. But June Mayan. Anyone with a bit of eyesight can see it. Her bones are at most 20 years old. Even in the Tri Academy, which only accepts young cultivators, this age is still very young. And it's this young girl who achieved something that no one in the Tri Academy has achieved for hundreds and thousands of years, reaching the top of the proclamation of azure clouds. No, not only did she reach the top of the proclamation of azure clouds, she's also the strongest auxiliary cultivator in the history of Azure Blue World. She's the Talisman Master who won the finals of the Golden Heavenly Light competition. Because the cultivation of talismans is very difficult and the results are very little, it can be said that in the entire Shojin continent, there aren't many good talisman masters. June Mayan can even be said to be the #1 talisman master in the Shojin continent. Tian Haiba's eyes shine as he looks at the beautiful girl in front of him, his heart in turmoil. If she's such a peerless beauty, even if he makes her the mistress of the Tian family, he won't lose face when he brings her out later. Thinking of this, Tian Haibo revealed a confident smile on his face. However, without waiting for him to speak, a middle-aged man sitting next to Tian Haibo immediately stands up. With a face full of solicitude, he says, "Student Mayan, this is the Tian family's master, Senior Tian Haibo. He specially came over to find you today. Quickly come over and pay respects to Patriarch Tian." Mu Yan raises her eyebrows. She recognized the middle-aged man who was speaking. In the Starry School, other than Di Yudao, there were 3 other deputy deans. Su Yiluan was one of them. There was also an old man with the highest cultivation level. He had entered seclusion a few years ago in an attempt to break through to the late nascent soul stage, but he had yet to emerge. The only one left was the middle-aged man in front of him. His name was Jiang Taihong, and he was one of the few remaining nascent soul cultivators in the Starry School. Now that Di Yudao had fallen from grace, Jiang Taihong, as the vice dean, should have been the one to take the dean's seat. However, he was too close to Di Yudao. Although he wasn't in cahoots with Di Yudao, he had done a lot of bootlicking on a daily basis. As a result, in the election of the temporary dean this time, the deans and teachers of the various schools would rather Meng Baichuan than Jiang Taihong. Chapter 1722. Of course, Jiang Taihong was not convinced. However, Meng Baichuan was the dean of Tianshu Institute and led a group of unruly genius students. There was no need to doubt his own ability. Moreover, in terms of cultivation, Meng Baichuan was not inferior to Jiang Taihong at all. The students of Tianshu Institute even used their family's influence to support their teacher Meng's ascension to the position of Starry School's chief dean. It was said that when Meng Baichuan was confirmed as the acting dean, Jiang Taihong flew into a rage and smashed almost everything in Meng Baichuan's bedroom. Recently, whenever Jiang Taihong saw the students of Tianshu Institute and Yaoguang Institute, he would not recognize them at all. Mu Yan did not feel flattered when he was suddenly so polite to her today. Instead, she had goosebumps all over her body. Student June Mayan, Master Tian has come here today to bring you and the students of the Alcade branch with great news. Mu Yan had just sat down when Jiang Taihong spoke impatiently. Great news? Mu Yan asked. Yes. Jiang Taihong's face was glowing. Chief Tian wants to recruit everyone in the Xiaoyao team to join the Tian clan. Also, you don't have to wait for your graduation. You can go to the Tian clan now and become our trusted aides. Mu Yan raised her eyebrows and said slowly, "We are doing well in Starry School. Why do we have to go to the Tian clan? Or does Vice College Chief Jiang want to kick us out like College Chief Shai did?" Jiang Taihong's face froze and he said angrily, "How can you say that? I am fighting for a better future for the students of Yaoguang Institute. How can that be the same as what Di Yudao is doing?" Mu Yan sneered. You still have to ask if we are willing. Jiang Taihong was furious. A mere student who had not even grown her hair was already climbing over his head. Indeed, those who hung out with Meng Baichuan and Ning Yaguang were not good people. He was about to slam the table in anger but was stopped by Tian Haibo. Tian Haibo's face was full of arrogance. He said slowly, Miss June, why don't you listen to the generous treatment that the Tian clan can give you after you go to the Tian clan? First of all, each of you will be paid 10,000 high-grade crystals per year. As long as you report to me, you can choose whatever you want from the Tian family's treasury. Secondly, my Tian family has thousands of private soldiers. Every one of them was an expert above the level of fasting. All the Golden Core experts who seek refuge with my Tian family will be given at least 50 Tian family private soldiers as subordinates. Miss June, although you are not at the Gold Core stage, I am very optimistic about your talent and future, so I made an exception to let you each lead a team of 50 private soldiers. Lastly, our Tian clan will take over your talisman shop in Tingguang Ruins. Under the management of our Tian family, I'm sure that store will prosper day by day. Originally, the businesses that belonged to my Tian family would not receive any profits. However, on account of Miss June's face, this patriarch will make an exception once again and allow you to take 10% of the profits from that shop every year. Before Tian Haibo could finish his confident words, Mu Yan finally couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. This Patriarch Tian. Let me say, have you ever asked around how much profit the old man is making? Chapter 1723. Tian Haibo was a man of his word, and no one could defy him. At this time, he was suddenly interrupted by Mu Yan in such a mocking and disdainful tone. He immediately frowned. But in the end, he still maintained his demeanor and sneered, it's just a small talisman shop, how much income can it have? 10,000 crystals a year. Ha, it's indeed not bad, but if my Tian family takes it over, we can definitely double the income. Tian Haibo also went to take a look at the shop. The location of the shop was remote, and the shop was very small. When he went there weren't many customers inside. Although he was the #1 talisman master in the Shuzhen continent, talismans were still talismans. How could they be compared with elixirs and magic treasures? So Tian Haibo felt that the shop's annual income of tens of thousands of crystals was already the limit. But he also thought that if the Tian family took over the shop, he would go outside to buy more defective products and sell the talismans that were pretending to be Yi Liangqin's. At that time, his annual net income would definitely increase by a lot. Who knew that when he said this, Mu Yan directly rolled her eyes. Even the few students standing behind Jiang Taihong showed an expression of holding back their laughter. The respect and fear in their eyes when they looked at Tian Haibo had now been mixed with a trace of disdain. Jiang Taihong said angrily, what kind of attitude is this? Master Tian asked you a question. Didn't you hear? Isn't the annual income of 10,000 high-grade crystals for a mere talisman shop? Ahem. Vice Principal Jiang, actually, you can go to Tingguang Ruins and inquire about it. The income of the old man is #1 in the world store is more than 10,000 crystals a month. The student standing at the back kindly reminded him, Tingguang Ruins has a hidden list of shops' popularity and profits. You can check it by spending crystals. On that list, the old man is #1 in the world. A shop has never fallen from the top 10. The student said and glanced at Mu Yan. There was one more sentence that he didn't say. This kind of sales result was produced under the situation that the supply of the shop was far from meeting the demand. The shop's daily supply of talismans was limited, especially those mutated talismans. There were only a few of them every day. The most sought-after barrier-breaking talisman had been booked for a year. One could well imagine how terrifying the sales volume would be if the sale of talismans was completely open to the public. Mu Yan listened to the student's narration and couldn't help but ridicule Qi Huang in the space. Qi Shao Huang, did you hear that? How much money did my world's #1 shop earn? Other than the salary that was given to North Sunflower, Xiang Wan, and the rest, as well as the portion that was left for Master, almost all of it has been squandered by you. You wastrel, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have given you the flowing light seal. Mu Yan originally wanted to share the income of the shop with everyone in the Xiaoyao school. Unfortunately, Yun Ruhan and the others felt that they hadn't put in any effort, and refused to accept it no matter what. Therefore, Mayan could only give her master Shi Qing a bigger portion. As for Luo Yunxiao, when Mayan proposed to give him a cut of the shop, Luo Yunxiao waved her hand and a small hill of obsidian crystals appeared. Obsidian crystal. That was a piece of obsidian crystal that was worth tens of thousands of high-grade crystal stones. Chapter 1724. How could other people be willing to spend it? They would treat it as a rare refining material, and mix it into their magic weapons. But her family's little martial uncle is good, he directly treats it like a pile of gravel, and takes it as a small hill. Mu Yan immediately retreats in shame, and from then on, she never dared to mention the matter of giving him crystal stones in front of little martial uncle. It's better if she goes to hug little martial uncle's thigh and let him give her some crystal stones through his fingers. Of course, thinking about it is just thinking about it, Mu Yan absolutely doesn't dare. Otherwise, if Di Mingju, that stingy big vinegar jar, knew that she asked little martial uncle for crystal stones but not him, Di Mingju would definitely steam, fry, boil, and fry her, all 18 kinds of torture. As for Qi Huang, he was completely driven mad after his Shu took out a pile of obsidian crystal. He could allow himself to be compared by any stupid person, but he would never allow that person to be little martial uncle. Mu Yan really suspects more than once, is Qi Huang really not in a love-hate relationship with little martial uncle? This kind of thing, it's almost like, I only have eyes for you, love you, hate you, bite you to death. Since that day, she doesn't know what Qi Huang and Little Phoenix are up to in Tianguang ruins, but they're acting mysterious every day, and spending more and more crystal stones. Qi Huang sneers, isn't this because you're too useless? I asked you to draw 2 more talismans every day, to learn how to draw high-level talismans, but you refused. Otherwise, how could you only have this little income? Those tens of thousands of crystal stones, it's not even enough to fill the gaps between Ben Zun's teeth. Jun Mu Yan, I'm warning you, you'd better hurry up and earn more crystal stones for Ben Zun, otherwise I'll secretly leave a note to Di Mingju, saying that you're raising a lot of pretty boys outside, and the biggest one is that bastard Luo Yunxiao. At that time, that narrow-minded Di Mingju will definitely strangle Luo Yunxiao to death. Mu Yan. Damn it, she doesn't know if it's too late to strangle this dead tool spirit now. Tian Haiba and Jiang Taihong don't know about the interaction between Mu Yan and Qi Huang, and they also don't know that Mu Yan's shop is raking in gold every day. But now, those crystal stones are completely out of her hands. Often, as soon as they reach the Jade Key, that little bastard Qi Huang will plunder them clean. After listening to this student, they are completely shocked. An income of more than 10,000 crystals a month. The top 10 shops in Tianguang ruins. What did that mean? The top 10 shops in Tianguang ruins were either those that had been in business for 1,000 years, such as the Immortal Assembling restaurant that held the Spirit Chef tournament, or those shops that were opened by the great sects and families of the Purple Cloud domain. When did a small shop that sold talismans have such a heaven-defying profit? Tian Haiba's eyes suddenly lit up. The anger and humiliation from being ridiculed had all turned into greed at this moment. If the Tian family could obtain this kind of shop and this kind of Jun Mayan, then the Tian family would certainly be like a tiger that had grown wings. Perhaps in less than a year, they would be able to leap to become the #1 family in Azure Blue World. Tian Haibao's sinister eyes immediately narrowed into a smile. I didn't investigate carefully and underestimated Miss June. However, what I said just now was not all of the sincerity of my Tian family. He slowly straightens up and leans towards Mu Yan, revealing an expression of adoration and deep affection. In fact, the reason I came to look for Miss June alone this time is to ask to marry Miss June as my official wife. What does Miss June think about it? Chapter 1725. As soon as these words came out, the whole room fell into a deathly silence. Mayan, who was quarreling with Qi Huang in her sea of consciousness, was startled back to her senses by these words. She almost wanted to dig her ears to see if she had misheard. And Qi Huang was already stamping with rage in the space. Damn old bastard, keep dreaming. A dead toad still wants to eat swan meat. Watch as this soon peels off his skin, pulls out his tendons, and breaks him into pieces to feed the dogs. Jiang Taihong looks at Mayan with shock and jealousy, but he still couldn't help but say, Master Tian, have you really thought it through? Although classmate Mayan's talent is outstanding, she doesn't have any family background. In the past, when the heads of the big families got married, it was basically a marriage alliance. The matriarchs of the family also had an extraordinary background. What's more, Jiang Taihong's voice is somewhat difficult to speak. I'm afraid you still don't know, classmate Mayan, she got pregnant before marriage and now has a 5-year-old child. I'm afraid she's not worthy of you, Master Tian. Hearing Jiang Taihong's words, Tian Haibao's face really darkens a bit. He's played with countless women, whether it's by force or coercion, which one of them wasn't clean and pure? This Mayan looks like a young onion, but he didn't expect her to be so flowery and shameless. She hasn't even gotten married, but she's already no longer a virgin and has a child. According to his traditional and strong thinking, such a dirty woman, even if she's a peerless beauty, he can only play with her at most. Letting her sit in the position of Tian family's matriarch is simply a great humiliation to him, Tian Haibao. But when he thinks of the huge benefits that marrying Mayan would bring, Tian Haibao presses down the displeasure welling up in his heart. Isn't it just a woman? When he's tired of playing with her, he'll squeeze out all her value and directly give her away as a plaything. To devour. The position of Tian family's matriarch can be changed at any time. A gentle smile once again hangs on Tian Haibao's face. What I admire is Miss June. I can ignore her past. However, after Miss June marries me, it's best that you don't show your face outside like you do now. Just stay at home and draw talismans, and manage the household chores. As for that son of yours, it's best to sever all ties with him. After all, it won't be a good thing if word of this spreads out. My Tian family has always been strict. I, Tian Haibao, am a reputable person in the entire Azure Blue World. As my wife, I naturally need to have a dignified and virtuous temperament. I believe Miss June understands this, right? Mu Yan originally wanted to speak, but after listening to the end, she leisurely drank her tea, stood up, and walked out. Tian Haibao and Jiang Taihong were dumbfounded by her actions. It wasn't until she reached the door that Jiang Taihong angrily said, June Mayan, what are you doing? Master Tian is talking to you. It's fine if you don't answer, but how can you just casually leave? Don't you have any manners? Mu Yan unhurriedly comes back to her senses. Leaning against the door frame, she sneers, my manners and upbringing are prepared for those who are similarly educated. As for those shameless toads who don't have the least bit of self-awareness and still like to boast, I'm sorry. Forgive me for not having much upbringing, but I won't casually waste it. Tian Haibao's complexion suddenly changes. Gritting his teeth, he says, June Mayan, what do you mean by that? Chapter 1726. I don't understand what you're saying. My junior sister is saying that you're a toad that wants to eat swan meat. Ling Yuma's voice suddenly came from outside. The people from the Xiaoyao school quickly walked to Mayan's side. Ling Yuma looked Tian Haibo up and down, the disdain in her eyes almost overflowing. TSK, a toad. I think he's a toad. Luo Yu laughed. I think there's something wrong with this person's brain. Otherwise, why doesn't he take a piss and look at himself? Where did he get the face to say that he wants to marry sixth senior sister? If Tutor Mo heard this, Luo Yu could guarantee that this person would have been torn apart by 5 horses. Tian Haibo had never been humiliated like this before. He was stunned by the scolding. Jiang Taihong slammed his palm on the table and cursed, impudent. What kind of attitude is this? Tian Haibo. The clan leader is an important guest of the Starry School. Who allowed you to speak to him like this? Why don't you kneel and apologize? Apologize. Sorry, Jiang. Vice College Chief, where did we go wrong? Ling Yuma said unhurriedly. An old man in his 70s or 80s wants to marry our junior sister. Are we wrong to call him a toad? Oh, that's right. I did insult the toad by saying that. I'm willing to apologize to the toad. Ling Yuma patted her mouth. I should say that he's worse than a maggot in a manure tank. After all, maggots know how smelly they are. They won't just crawl out to disgust people. Mayan almost couldn't hold back her laughter. Her 4th senior sister's battle power was getting stronger and stronger, both verbally and in actual combat. In the past, when she met such a shameless person, she had to argue with him. Now that she had 4th senior sister and Xiao Qi, she had no room to speak. Before she could say anything, the other party was already fuming with anger. Just look at Tian Haibo. The man who was smiling arrogantly and hypocritically a while ago, now had a completely twisted face. A strong murderous intent burst out from his eyes. Alcade branch, good. Good. As soon as the last word, good, came out, Mayan's eyes suddenly narrowed. The next moment, the Tian Mo Qin appeared in her hands. The sound of the Guqin rang out. In the blink of an eye, a sound wall appeared in front of them. At the same time, the sound of the zither turned into blades, and hundreds of sword chi shot out. Bang! 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 Countless sparks exploded in the small room. The surrounding desks and furnishings were affected and shattered. Dust filled the air. The students behind Jiang Taihong were so frightened that they retreated to a corner. The dust slowly dissipated, revealing Tian Haibo's incredulous and shocked face. He was a nascent soul cultivator. Although he was only at the 1st level, in the Azure Blue Realm, other than the Nalan clan's patriarch, Nalan Qing, who was at the 3rd level, the other nascent soul cultivators were at most at the 2nd level. It could be said that Tian Haibo could do whatever he wanted in the entire Azure Blue Realm. However, just then, he used 50% of his power in order to teach these audacious people from the Alcade branch a lesson. But his attack was easily resolved by June Mayan's zither notes. How was this possible? Could it be that June Mayan's strength was already comparable to the peak of core formation? A little girl at the stage of fasting, but she had strength comparable to the peak of core formation. How many people would go crazy if such news were to spread? Chapter 1727. How did she do it? Was it because of the barrier-breaking talisman? Yes, it must be because of the barrier-breaking talisman. If the barrier-breaking talisman did not have such a terrifying effect, how could a mere talisman shop have such a huge income? Devouring stared at Mu Yen. In his heart, he was even more determined to get this woman. He took a deep breath and said coldly, "Jun Mu Yen, do you really want to do this the hard way?" Mu Yen put away the Tian Mo Chin slowly and chuckled. "Then why don't you take out the punishment wine first and let me see if it's enough for me to eat?" "Don't be too arrogant," Tian Haibo said, gritting his teeth. "Do you know how many clans and clans have resisted the Tian clan all these years and how they ended up? There are many golden essence cultivators in those clans and some even have backers. But in the end, without exception, they all became stepping stones for the Tian clan. Do you think you can be arrogant just because you are talented and strong? Don't forget that there are only 7 people in the Alcade branch. If the Tian clan wants to kill you, it will be easier than killing a few ants. It's good for young people to be arrogant, but excessive arrogance is overestimating one's capabilities." He glanced at the people of the Xiaoyao school with disdain. "I advise you to quit while you're ahead. If you pledge allegiance to the Tian clan now, I promise to give you all the benefits. But if you really anger me, then those clans and clans that were destroyed will be your example." Seeing that Tian Haibo's tone had softened, Jiang Taihong immediately stood up to smooth things over. "Tian clan leader is really magnanimous. These kids don't know what's good for them, but you are still willing to give them a chance." Saying this, he glared at Mu Yen and the others. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and apologize to the Tian clan leader." "Clearly, no, I think you should leave with the Tian clan leader today. I will take care of the procedures for you." Mu Yen sneered. "Vice College leader Jiang, since you want to go to the Tian clan so much, why don't you go yourself? The Alcade branch will not fight with you." "Hee, that's right," Luo Yu said with a smile. "I saw how attentive Vice College Chief Jiang was to the Tian clan leader. I thought that you were not the college chief of our starry school, but a lackey of the Tian clan." TSK, no wonder Vice Dean Jiang was so magnanimous and gave the position of dean to Instructor Meng. Jiang Taihong was so angry that he almost fainted when he heard this. What did he mean by giving it to Instructor Meng? It was clearly that bastard Meng Baichuan who forcefully snatched the position of dean from his hands. If it wasn't for the sake of snatching back the position of dean from Meng Baichuan, would he have needed to curry favor with Tian Haibo? At this moment, Tian Haibo's stamina was completely exhausted. But this time, he didn't make a move. Instead, he stared coldly at the high-spirited youths in front of him, thinking about how these youths would soon turn into dried leaves in his hands, and be ravaged by him. Tian Haibo's face revealed a sinister smile. "Seems like you guys have made up your mind to go against my Tian clan. Good, then don't blame me, Tian Haibo, for being rude." During this period of time, Meng Baichuan, who had just become the college chief, was extremely busy every day. It was really because Di Yudao had left behind too many messes. Furthermore, the starry school was in dire need of instructors and college chiefs. It made him want to split himself into 2. Chapter 1728. However, right at this moment, the deans and a few instructors of the various branches rushed in hurriedly. "College Chief Meng, something happened." Meng Baichuan's eyebrows twitched. He was already so busy that he couldn't leave, and something still happened? What happened this time? Hearing Meng Baichuan's question, the tutors who had come with him started talking before the college chiefs could say anything. The college ran out of spirit herbs to refine pills. I went to the nearest Tianluo city and Songyun city to buy them, but all the shops seemed to have an agreement. None of them sold us the spirit herbs. It's the same here. The public classes these days are about teaching students how to forge weapons, but I don't even have the most basic materials. Also, the shop owner refused to sell us the batch of alchemy furnaces that we ordered. Students need large amounts of basic spirit replenishing pills and chi replenishing pills every day. Although they are the lowest level pills, they are indispensable, and the daily demand is huge. We used to order these pills in bulk from a 1,000-year-old shop in Tianluo City. But now, the shop is not willing to sell to us. If I don't have these pills, how can I cultivate? Hearing their chatter, Meng Baichuan's head hurt at first. But as he listened, he was shocked and angry. Why are these shops not willing to sell to us? We don't know either. We asked the shopkeepers and shop owners, but they all stuttered and looked terrified. If we asked more, they would turn around and leave. We can't rob them, right? It's not just buying things. The natural treasures obtained by our starry school students were originally sold to a big shop in Tianluo City, but now, even the shop is not willing to accept them. We can't put all the entry and exit points in Tianguang ruins, right? How can we do that? Not to mention that our level is not high enough, the storage space of the Jade Key is not that big. Just the processing fees from Tianguang ruins will cost us a lot of money. What's going on? Starry School has been established for thousands of years and has always been on good terms with the shops in the surrounding towns. This has never happened before. Meng Baichuan was also puzzled. But as the dean, he couldn't allow himself to be careless, so he immediately said, "Don't panic, wait for me to go to Heaven Luo City to find out more information. You don't have to go ask around." Jiang Taihong's voice suddenly came from the door. "Let me tell you why." Everyone in the hall turned to look at the door. Meng Baichuan frowned and said, "Vice President Jiang, do you know something?" Jiang Taihong gnashed his teeth in anger when he heard the words Vice Dean. However, when he thought about how Meng Baichuan would definitely lose his position as dean after this matter, he revealed a carefree smile. "It's all your junior martial sister Ning Yaoguang's good student who offended the Tian family. Now, the leader of the Tian clan is enraged and has committed suicide against the Starry School. You should all be very clear on how large the Tian family's influence is in the Azure Blue world, and how famous and ambitious Tian Haibo is. Even the patriarchs of the 5 great clans would be very polite to him. However, Ning Yaoguang's students actually dared to openly insult the Tian family's patriarch. Wasn't this infuriating him? He devoured the Starry School." Meng Baichuan was stunned. "You mean the students of the Alcade branch?" Chapter 1729. The other vice deans and instructors looked at each other with puzzled expressions. What's going on? The Starry School students and the Tian clan should have nothing to do with each other. Why would Jun Mayan and the others offend the Tian clan? Jiang Taihong looked at the ugly expression on Meng Baichuan's face, his eyes filled with glee. He exaggerated the story of how Tian Haibo tried to recruit students from the Yaoguang branch, but was humiliated and left by them. In the end, he said righteously, "In my opinion, there is only one way to protect the Starry School. It was to expel Jun Mayan and the rest from the Starry School. As long as these people have nothing to do with the Starry School, clan leader Tian's anger will not affect us." When Jiang Taihong said this, he thought that everyone would agree with him. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he realized that the room was completely silent. Many of the branch deans and instructors looked at him with complicated expressions. Meng Baichuan couldn't help but scoff. Vice Principal Jiang Shuer is a good teacher. Without Yaoguang's consent, she didn't even inform me, the principal. Swallowing the Tian family in taking away our academy students. What do you take us Starry School students for? Jiang Taihong was furious. I'm doing this for their own good. Bah! The principal of the Migres branch had a fiery temper. He scolded Jiang Taihong mercilessly. Jiang Taihong, why don't you take a look at whether they want you to help them or not? Furthermore, have you forgotten that the Alcade branch is going to represent the Starry School to participate in the Dear Cry banquet? You gave him to the Tian clan just like that, and you even said that it was for their own good, for the sake of the Starry School. How shameless can you be? Jiang Taihong's face turned green and white, wanting to refute. However, most of the branch deans and instructors pointed at his nose and scolded him for inviting a wolf into the house. This made Jiang Taihong so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Of course, there were also some teachers and branch deans who were afraid of death who agreed with Jiang Taihong. No matter what, the people from the Alcade branch had already offended the Tian family. As for the Tian clan, the Starry School could not afford to offend such a powerful force. The best way was to push Jun Mayan and the others out and draw a clear line between them. Only then could the Starry School be saved. I will never agree. You don't have to say anything else. As the college chief of the Starry School, I have the responsibility to protect all the students. As long as Jun Mayan and the rest are still in Starry School, I will definitely protect them. Jiang Taihong looked at Meng Baichuan and the people surrounding him. A venomous glint flashed in his eyes. Speaking so gloriously, I want to see how many days you can persevere under the suppression of the Tian clan. Mayan is flipping through her perfect golden core in the space. This book was taken out from the book tower by Qi Huang when he turned into a little doll carved from jade. Mu Yan cultivated according to the cultivation method recorded in the ancient book, and sure enough, her progress was very fast. Now, she could clearly feel that the peak of her but had truly reached perfection. He was only one step away from the perfect core formation. Her present strength had surpassed all Jin Dan Shuzhou long ago. Even if it was a first-stage, nascent soul cultivator, she would be able to barely put up a fight if she went all out. However, even though it's only one step, even though there's only a thin layer of muslin separating her from core formation, Mayan still hasn't touched that crucial point. Chapter 1730. Qi Huang, what's the problem? She couldn't help but look up and ask, why is it that after so long, my fellow disciples and I still can't reach core formation? In fact, the bottleneck of core formation was not only stuck for Mu Yan, but also for the rest of the Xiaoyao sect. Especially Yun Ruhan and Qin Zhou, the two of them had been stuck at peak inertia for longer than her. Their strength had long surpassed that of ordinary Jin Dan cultivators. But they still couldn't touch the threshold of core formation. Qi Huang was showing off his new clothes to Little Phoenix and Bai Xia. This guy was stealing a lot of Mu Yan's crystals every day. He could buy clothes in Tingguang ruins if he wanted to. But he had to pester Mu Yan to give them to him. After that, he went to Xiao Bao, the Fat Rabbit, Little Phoenix and Bai Xia to show off. In the end, after she was done showing off, Little Phoenix, Fat Rabbit and Bai Xia could not take it anymore. Even Xiao Bao was hugging her leg pitifully. Although he did not say anything, but his expression of mother buys gifts for others but not for Xiao Bao, does mother not love Xiao Bao anymore? Was very clear. Mu Yan had a big headache. She could only take turns to buy all kinds of strange things for this group of little ancestors in Tingguang ruins. She clearly had a shop that sold crystals, but she was so poor that she was even more pitiful than a cabbage. Qi Huang sneered, what's so strange about that? Since it's a perfect advancement, of course it will be thousands of times more difficult than an ordinary advancement. If you want to reach core formation without an epiphany, don't even dream about it. As for your fellow disciples, although they didn't have a perfect advancement, But after being trained by Di Mingju and the pretty boy for a period of time, their bodies and spiritual power circulation are completely different. Plus, each of them have already activated their domains, or are about to do so. Naturally, it won't be easy for them to reach core formation. Everything in the world is balanced. A perfect advancement can bestow you with great strength, but it will naturally bring several times more difficulties than an ordinary advancement. Do you think everyone is like your son? A child of heaven's will, who can casually cast an immortal body without any bottlenecks before ascending? Xiao Bao blinked, looking at Qi Huang, then at the somewhat depressed Mu Yan. Suddenly, he throws himself into Mu Yan's arms and gently rubs against her. Then, he blushes and kisses Mu Yan's face. Mother, little treasure will give all the good luck to you. Help mother advance. Mayan's heart immediately softens into a puddle of water. Mo Tiange completely threw the depression of not being able to form her gold core to the back of her mind. She hugged Xiaobao and kissed him several times. Compared to that brat who only knew how to squander, he was 10,000 times cuter. Qi Huang is flustered and exasperated as he curses, Jun Mayan, don't think that I don't know that you're silently criticizing me. Which part of me can't be compared to that little bastard of yours? Before he could finish his words, the fat rabbit had already taken a bite at Qi Huang with a howl. Even the little phoenix, who was most afraid of Qi Huang, was flying around him and pecking at him. Even the evil warding sword whistled as it rushed forward to take advantage of the situation. Daring to scold their little master, they must be tired of living. You're the little bastard. Your whole family is made up of little bastards. Mu Yan looks at Qi Huang, who's being chased all over the space by a few little guys. She immediately convulses with laughter. Sure enough, in this world, the only one who can restrain that brat spirit is her family Xiao Bao. While the space is in chaos, Mu Yan suddenly hears a knock on the door from the outside. Chapter 1731. She opened the door and walked out, only to find that it was Fatty Zheng. No, she should not call him Fatty Zheng anymore. This was because he had lost a lot of weight. His originally fat face that looked like a Maitreya Buddha was now sunken in. This made him look even more handsome and dashing. Especially his bean-like eyes. After his face became thinner, they became long and narrow. Occasionally, a sharpness would flash through his eyes. His entire temperament was completely different from before. Mu Yan sighed softly. Jiang Xinyu's tragic death was a huge blow to Zheng Little Fatty. Tribulations could change a person beyond recognition overnight, but they could also make a person grow up overnight. However, seeing Mu Yan, Zheng's eyes still lit up. He bowed and greeted, "Boss." Mu Yan smiles at him and leads him into the room to take a seat. Without waiting for Mu Yan to ask, Jing Xiaopang said, "Boss, I came to find you today because something happened in the Starry School recently." Recently, when Starry School went out to buy things, they were all rejected by all the shops. No one dared to accept the goods that they took out from the school. Most importantly, apart from the most dangerous Dan Yang mountain range, the few forests near Starry School are all guarded. Starry School students are not allowed to enter. Students can't train, so they naturally can't become stronger. He paused and said in a low voice, "Someone wants to trap Starry School." Mu Yan frowned. Then, she thought of something and said coldly, "It's the Tian clan." Zheng was surprised. "Boss, you know about it." Mu Yan squinted and did not answer. Zheng continued, "Although our Zheng clan is not a prestigious clan in the azure blue world, we have many people under us. People from our side branches are involved in many places. I only found out about it after hearing it from my cousins." In reality, when he returned to the Zheng clan, he realized that there were people who wanted to steal his brother Xing Jiming's position as the successor. Thus, Xing Little Fatty, who had been reborn, ruthlessly taught his disobedient cousins a lesson. At that time, a cousin had spread the word that the Tian clan was determined to get the 7 people from the Alcade branch. Now, even the entire Starry School had been locked down. If the Starry School did not hand over Jun Mayan and the rest, the entire Starry School would be finished. He told Xing Little Fatty not to be too arrogant, because soon he wouldn't even be able to stay in the academy anymore. Xing Fatty taught them a good lesson, and they all begged for mercy before rushing back to the Starry School. As soon as he returned, Xing Little Fatty realized that something was wrong. Although all the mentors and branch deans tried their best to cover up the peace. But it was true that the various super courtyards were supplying the inner courtyard with fewer and fewer medicinal pills each day, and the outer courtyard students were practically non-existent. Many students from the outer yard even made a ruckus, but they were all suppressed by the tutors. But his resentment was getting deeper and deeper. There was also the items that could be exchanged within the glittering jewel warehouse. In the past, they were all rare and precious treasures. They were things that could not be bought in the shops of other cities. But right now, the treasures within the glittering jewel warehouse were becoming fewer and fewer. There were only a few items that could be exchanged. Moreover, the mission hall of the glittering jewel warehouse had not released any high-level missions for a long time. All of this showed that the Starry School was in a dire situation. Chapter 1732. Xing Xiaopeng, our Xing family is related to the Tian family by marriage, so I sent someone to the Tian family to inquire about it. Then I heard. He frowned and looked at Mu Yan, deep worry in his eyes. Mu Yan calmed down instead. Heard what? Fatty Xing said, the head of the Tian family has sworn to get the people of the Alcade branch, especially you. Cutting off all cultivation resources for Starry School is only the first step. The second step is to completely surround Starry School and turn it into an isolated city. Unless you are willing to sign a 100 years contract with the Tian clan will make Starry School lose its footing in the azure blue world. Mu Yan was not angry. Instead, she laughed. How shameless is Tian Haibo to want the Xiaoyao school to serve him for 100 years. Xing Xiaopeng's mood was not too optimistic, but boss, their intentions are truly sinister. In this period of time, the anger of the Starry School students will definitely accumulate bit by bit. In the end, it will turn into anger and hatred. By then, even if you don't leave, maybe everyone will chase you away. In a desperate situation, human nature could not withstand the test. I heard that the Tian clan once used a similar method to cripple the top cultivators of several sections. In the end, the sect was completely swallowed by the Tian clan. Mu Yan smiled faintly and said slowly, now that you say it, I am really looking forward to it. She did not need to wait for the Tian clan to attack the innocent Starry School students. She could go to the Tian clan and meet the Tian clan leader herself. It's just that, before Mu Yan could finish her words, all of a sudden, the identity jade tokens in their bosoms emitted a beeping sound. Mu Yan took out the Starry School token and saw a line of words. All Starry School students, gather at Tai Square of the School of the Emperor Star immediately. Mu Yan, the rest of the Xiaoyao School, and Xing Xiaopeng boarded the spaceship and quickly arrived at Tai Square. Tai Square had already changed its appearance. The center was raised high, forming a high platform. Jiang Taihong was currently standing in the middle of the stage, looking at the students gathering around him in high spirits. Seeing Mu Yan and the others jump out of the spaceship, Jiang Taihong's eyes burst out with a sharp light. Mu Yan smiled at Xing Xiaopeng and said, looks like someone can't hold it in anymore. Meng Baichuan rushed to the plaza, and saw Jiang Taihong standing in the middle of the stage. He immediately rushed up in anger. "What are you doing? Who told you to gather all the students?" Only he, the college chief of the Starry School, had the right to gather all the students. However, no one knew where Jiang Taihong had obtained this authority from. Not only could he announce the highest level of the Starry School, but he could also control the Tai Square, a mustard divine device. Meng Baichuan was shocked and furious. It seemed like the connection between Jiang Taihong and Di Yudao was far deeper than he had imagined. Take it deep. How could Jiang Taihong care about Meng Baichuan's expression? He glanced at Meng Baichuan coldly and said in a low voice, "The authority to gather the students and control the Tai Yi Plaza belongs to me. Your position as dean should also belong to me. After today, everything should be returned." "You!" Meng Baichuan wanted to attack, but Jiang Taihong waved his hand. The place where Meng Baichuan was standing immediately sank, and the two were quickly separated. Chapter 1733. Jiang Taihong did not wait for Meng Baichuan and the other tutors to react and immediately said loudly, "Everyone, you should have noticed that the cultivation resources of the Starry School have been decreasing recently. The treasures in the glittering jewel warehouse are almost used up. Those who went out to train are either chased back or covered in injuries. Do you know who the culprit behind all of this is?" As soon as he said this, the students below were instantly stirred up. The anger and grievances that had accumulated over the past few days exploded at once. Who? Who did this to us? I went to buy pills. Once they heard that I was a student of the Starry School, those bastards not only refused to sell the pills to me, they even beat me up. Why did they do this? Hearing the crowd's anger, Jiang Taihong's expression became more and more smug. He sneered and glanced at Mu Yan and the others. Seeing that her expression was normal, he thought to himself, "You can only be smug for a while. Very soon, you will have a taste of being condemned by the public." Jiang Taihong raised his hand and gestured for the students to quiet down. However, the people below were still in a mess. No one paid attention to him at all. Jiang Taihong's expression darkened. He suddenly let out a roar and his might spread out. Only then did the noisy students below slowly quieten down. Jiang Taihong said in a low voice, "Now, let me tell you, who is the culprit behind all this?" As he said this, he slowly raised his hand and pointed at Mu Yan and the others standing in the corner. "It's them. It's the people from the Alcade branch who offended the leader of the Tian clan, causing the Tian clan to be furious and want to punish the Starry School. The humiliation that you have suffered these days and the unfair treatment that the Starry School has experienced are all because of them." The news that Jiang Taihong had dropped had all the students in the Tai Square dizzy. What is going on? How did the people from the Alcade branch offend the leader of the Tian clan? Yes, we and the Tian clan have not interfered with each other. Seeing that the students below were all agitated, Jiang Taihong's face flashed with pride. He coughs lightly and uses his spiritual power to amplify his voice. He vividly recounts how Tian Haibo spent a lot of money to recruit Mayan, and even wanted to marry her as his official wife. How Mayan didn't know what was good for her and sternly refused, and even insulted Tian Haibo as a toad. Think about it, what kind of person is Patriarch Tian? In the entire azure blue world, who wouldn't be respectful when they saw him? Those people from the Alcade branch dared to offend clan leader Tian. The Tian clan will not let it go so easily, so our Starry School was implicated by them. Jiang Taihong had originally thought that after he had finished speaking, the students would definitely be enraged and attack the people of the Alcade branch school. However, to his surprise, all of the students looked at each other. Not only did they not question the people from the Alcade branch, but they also started to shout. Team Xiao Yao belongs to the Starry School. Why should we give him to the Tian clan? Yes, my cousin in Feng Tian heard that I can be in the same school as Jun Mayan and Team Xiao Yao. She's very envious of me. If everyone from Team Xiao Yao leaves, I'll cry for you. I've seen the leader of the Tian clan before. He has shifty eyes and looks like an old man. He wants to marry our god June. Dream on. Chapter 1734. If you don't let us buy things in Tianluo City and Songyun City, I'll just go to other towns to buy. If I can't buy it in other towns, I'll go to Tianguang Ruins to buy it. Isn't it just a little more processing fee? I don't lack crystals. Yes, if the school can't afford to give out spirit refill pills, then so be it. We are students of Starry School, of course we have to live and die with the school. I'll buy the spirit refill pills myself. Jiang Taihong was dumbfounded after hearing the discussion below. Without Tian Haibao's consent, he made a school-wide announcement and told all the students about it. This was to make everyone hate Jun Mayan and the Yaoguang branch to the bone. Thus, they did not like Meng Baichuan who protected the Yaoguang branch. But who knew that after these students heard that they were implicated by Jun Mayan, not only were they not angry, they even wanted to protect her. How could this be? Meng Baichuan looked at Jiang Taihong coldly, his face full of disdain. He said loudly, as long as the people of the Yaoguang branch are students of Starry School, they will never be abandoned. This is the case for the people of the Yaoguang branch and the other students of Starry School. Regardless of whether you are in the outer or inner clan, as long as you are in Starry School, Meng Baichuan, will protect you. An earth-shattering applause burst out from below. Long live College Chief Meng. Dean Meng, we all support you. Their voices rose and fell like the surging waves of the sea. Jiang Taihong did not expect that he would go for wool and come home shorn. He was so angry that he almost fainted on the platform. In Starry School, the news that Jiang Taihong announced the feud between Tian clan and the Yaoguang branch quickly reached Tian Haibao's ears. Tian Haibao was so angry that he almost destroyed everything in the room. The woman who was serving him was even strangled to death by the throat by the furious Tian Haibao. Jiang Taihong is such an idiot. He can't do anything right. In the past, the Tian family had done this many times to crush a sect or family. Usually, they would use Tian clan's power to suppress the clan in all aspects. After 1 or 2 days of suppression, the clan would not fight back, nor would they hand over the people the Tian clan wanted. But in a month or two, a year or two, the sect's vitality would be greatly damaged. Those who were innocently implicated would also feel resentment, which would then turn into hatred. The only good thing was that he couldn't hold on any longer and had to hand over the person the Tian family wanted. If it was a little worse, the entire sect might even fall apart and eventually become a possession of the Tian family. However, Jiang Taihong was too eager for quick success and instant benefits. He wanted the position of the headmaster too much, so much so that he lost his composure and intensified the conflict prematurely. Now that the Starry School's vitality had not been greatly damaged, the crowd was naturally furious. How could they surrender so easily? If Jiang Taihong was in front of him right now, Tian Haibao would definitely choke him to death. Patriarch, Patriarch. Something's wrong. The steward hurriedly ran in, saying in a panic, Patriarch, our shops in the Azure Cloud world have all been purchased by the Dark Flame Army. Now, their hands have even extended to the Azure Blue realm. They are rich and overbearing, and we really can't stand against them. Furthermore, the stewards of those shops are the backbone of my Tian family's army. Before he could finish, Tian Haibao had already picked up a porcelain bottle and smashed it over. The steward screamed in pain. His head was smashed, and he fell to the ground. Chapter 1735. Get lost. Why did you come to me for such a small matter? Why do I keep you useless people? Whoever dares to touch the Tian clan's property, can't I just kill them? The housekeeper wanted to explain, but seeing Tian Haibao's furious expression, he did not dare to say anything and ran away. Luo Tian approached Tian Haibao carefully and said in a low voice, "Clan leader, now that things have come to this, why don't we go all the way? Let's just lock down the Starry School and snatch them back." Tian Haibao was about to get angry, but hearing Luo Tian's words, his eyes moved slightly. Luo Tian continued, "Clan leader, think about it. Although the Starry School has some resources, they only have 2 nascent soul cultivators that we can use now. Jiang Taihong is on our side. The remaining Golden Core tutors are not even as many as the Tian clan's guests. As for the students, other than a few elites, the rest are just trash. Once the Tian army moves, I guarantee that they will be scared shitless. At that time, if they are still unwilling to hand over Jun Mayan and the Carefree team, we might as well bring the entire Starry School under the Tian clan. What do you think?" Tian Haibao's expression became more and more spirited as he listened, his eyes shining brightly. Finally, he slammed the table and said loudly, "All right, gather all the people in the Tian clan now and surround the entire Starry School. I want them to know the consequences of offending me, Tian Haibao. Luo Tian, you will be in charge of this. All the people in the Tian clan will be under your command. You must bring that bitch Jun Mayan back." Tian Haibao patted Luo Tian's shoulder and said gently, "If you do this well, the position of the Tian army's commander will be yours. Don't disappoint me." Luo Tian was so excited that his entire body could not help but tremble. He quickly bowed and said, "Clan leader, don't worry. I will definitely do this well. Azure Blue World, Murong clan. You have taught her wrong, it's different from what the boss said." The chubby little bean put his hands on his hips and said sternly to the middle-aged man in front of him, "Our boss is never wrong, so you must have taught him wrong." The middle-aged man was called Liao Zhang. He was a Golden Core stage cultivator. He was also the instructor that the Murong family had hired to teach Murong Hao and a few other juniors. Liao Zhang was not very strong, but as a Golden Core stage cultivator, it was more than enough for him to teach a little kid like Murong Hao. However, he did not expect Murong Hao to say that the method he taught was wrong. Liao Zhang's face turned green and white as he was told by a 6-year-old child that he had taught the wrong things. "I've been teaching cultivation for so many years, and no one has ever said that I'm wrong. Young master said that I am different from your boss. I wonder who your boss is. Could it be a nascent soul expert?" Murong Hao puffed up his cheeks. "Boss is the boss. Boss is the best. Of course he's right. Ha 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 ha. What kind of original infant stage expert is this?" On the side, a little boy who was a head taller than Murong Hao suddenly laughed. "That's a kid who's even younger than him. I heard it from my father." "What boss, what expert, calling a 5-year-old kid boss, it's really funny. Bastard. You're not allowed to say that about my boss." Murong Hao rushed over like a small cannonball and ruthlessly hit Murong Peng's abdomen. Chapter 1736. Murong Peng cried out in pain and took a few steps back. He was so embarrassed that he was about to attack Murong Hao. Liao Zhang quickly stopped the two of them. Murong Peng was the son of Murong Bai's concubine. Murong Hao, on the other hand, was the most distinguished grandson of the Murong family and was recognized as talented since birth. Naturally, their statuses could not be mentioned in the same breath. But Liao Zhang was really angry. Murong Hao just said that he was not even comparable to a 5-year-old. He couldn't help but put on a serious face. Young master, you shouldn't have befriended those shady people outside. They've brought you back now. What boss? How could you believe the words of a 5-year-old kid? Murong Hao was about to explode. You're the shady one. Our boss is the best. He's the best in the world and the best in the world. What you've taught is bullshit. It can't even compare to a hair on our boss's head. I don't want you to teach me anymore. Liao Zhang was so angry that he almost fainted. Murong Peng rubbed his stomach and suddenly rolled his eyes. Murong Hao, you said that your boss is very powerful and what he taught you is right? Then do you have the guts to accept my challenge? Murong Hao tilted his head. Challenge? Yes. Murong Peng pointed at Liao Peng. I'll fight you using what Mr. Liao taught me. If I lose, it means that your boss is more powerful. If you lose, it means that Mr. Liao is powerful and your boss is nothing. Murong Hao said, all right. Let's fight. I don't need the skills that boss taught me. I'll beat your teeth out. Liao Zhang wanted to stop the fight. After all, Murong Hao was too young. He was only 6 years old while Murong Peng was already 9. Although Murong Hao was very talented, he had been pampered all these years. Usually, he only knew how to play around, and no one forced him to cultivate. Murong Peng, on the other hand, practiced hard every day because his father was born of a concubine. He wanted to win Murong Bai's favor. He was very scheming at such a young age. On one hand, he was jealous of Murong Hao's treatment, but on the other hand, he hoped that Murong Hao could live like this forever. At that time, he would become a good-for-nothing debauchee, and everything that belonged to Murong family would be inherited by him. Therefore, he was determined to teach Murong Hao a lesson in front of the master. At that time, when this news reached his grandfather, Murong Bai's ears, perhaps Murong Bai would have a whole new level of respect for him. Liao Zhang frowned and said, Young master, I think there's no need for a competition. No. Murong Hao refused without hesitation. I won't let anyone who insults boss get away with it. He swore to be the boss's #1 follower. If he didn't work hard to protect boss's face, how would he be able to face boss in the future? What if his position as the #1 lackey was snatched away by someone else? Liao Zhang was infuriated as well. His face darkened as he retreated to the side. All right, then stop where you're going to. Let's exchange some pointers. It seemed like it was time to teach this young master who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth a lesson. When the servants and maids who were serving Murong Hao and Murong Peng saw the development of the situation, they all looked worried and panicked. They all liked Murong Hao, the cute little boy. Although he was usually mischievous, he never lost his temper at them. At this moment, it was obvious that Murong Hao would lose the duel between Murong Peng and Murong Hao. He might even lose miserably. A clever servant had already sneaked into the crowd and ran towards Murong Bai's study. Chapter 1737. Hearing that, Murong Bai immediately slammed the table and shouted, What did you say? Hao wants to compete with Peng. What kind of joke was this? His Hao was so chubby and small, how could he beat the 9-year-old Murong Peng? What's more, Murong Hao had just been kidnapped and narrowly escaped death. Murong Bai and the others couldn't wait to see his precious grandson get beaten up. Now, when he thought about how his precious grandson was about to be beaten up, he was instantly unable to sit still, and he dashed towards the practice grounds like a bolt of lightning. However, once he reached the training field, Murong Bai discovered that the place was packed to the brim with people and the entire training field was silent. Everyone's expression looked like they had seen a ghost as they stared at the center of the training field. Liao Zhang's eyes almost popped out of their sockets, His mouth was half open and his face was blank. He didn't even notice that he dropped his sword. Murong-bai was surprised that everyone had this kind of expression on their faces. Then he heard his precious grandson's voice coming from the crowd. Do you submit? Do you admit defeat? What followed was the sound of fists pounding on flesh. And Murong-pang's sobbing begging. I submit. Don't hit me anymore. Then apologize to my boss. I'll apologize. Do you still dare to speak ill of my boss in the future? Woo, I won't dare anymore. Isn't my boss the strongest and greatest in the world? Yes. Woo. Murong-bai regained his senses and hurriedly pushed through the crowd. As soon as he squeezed in, he saw his chubby little grandson riding on the 9-year-old Murong-pang's body, arrogantly asking Murong-pang to tell him how great his boss was. If Murong-pang spoke slowly, he would use his fists to serve him. His fists were faintly wrapped in a layer of spiritual energy. Although the punches didn't hurt Murong-pang's muscles or bones, it made him cry out in pain. A 9-year-old boy was being ridden on by a 6-year-old little bean, unable to resist at all. This scene truly scared everyone present. Seeing this scene, Murong-bai was startled at first, but then he couldn't help but clap his hands and burst into laughter. Good, as expected of my good grandson. Just by looking at the punches that landed on Murong-pang's body, it could be seen that Murong-hao's control over his spiritual power was already very fine. Therefore, even though his cultivation level was not as high as Murong-pang's, in terms of combat ability, he was able to beat Murong-pang, who was 3 years older than him. Grandfather. When Murong-hao heard Murong-bai's voice, he immediately abandoned Murong-pang, who was beaten black and blue, and dove into Murong-bai's embrace. Grandpa, why are you here? Murong-bai had always doted on this little grandson who loved to act spoiled. She didn't think that such intimacy would affect her dignity. She hugged him and kissed him. Grandpa, come and see how awesome Hao is. Of course. Murong-hao puffed out his chest and said proudly, I'm Big Brother's little brother. How can I embarrass Big Brother? When Murong-hao said this, Murong-bai's expression changed a little. He pulled Murong-hao to a place where there was no one around. How, the battle between you and your cousin just now, was it really taught by your boss? Of course. Murong-hao said without hesitation. Big Brother brought us to fight all kinds of dire beasts in the Danyang mountain range. We're amazing, we even killed a class 4 dire beast. Chapter 1738. The teeth that Hao gave Grandpa were made by us. This time, Murong-bai was truly shocked. He had always thought that they had picked up the class 4 fierce beast's teeth from the Danyang mountain range. As for the part about killing a class 4 dire beast together, that was just a child's boast. Who would have thought that it was actually true? How did you guys really kill that class 4 dire beast? Your boss didn't help you. Grandpa, you are so stupid. Of course, the class 4 dire beast was killed by us. If the boss were to take action, forget about a class 4 dire beast, even a class 6 or 7 dire beast would be easily killed. Murong-hao hugged Murong-bai's thigh. Grandpa, when can I go see boss again? I haven't seen boss in a long time. Murong-bai muttered to himself for a while before saying, all right, Grandpa will bring you to see your boss in 2 days. It seems that he should go and ask that monstrous little doll, Jun Mayan's son, how did he teach his grandson? He had actually made his grandson become so powerful within a month. Oh. Grandpa is the best. Hao loves Grandpa the most. I want to tell this good news to Yen and the others. I have my grandfather to take me to see boss, but they can't. Everyone will be so jealous of me. Thus, one day later, the Nalan family, Lu family, Duan family, and Feng family were all in an uproar. All the little fellows were clamoring to see their boss. Nalan Yan's eyes turned into walnuts from crying. Woo-woo, Grandpa doesn't love Yan Yan anymore. Hao Hao's grandpa already brought Hao Hao to see boss, but Grandpa didn't bring Yan Yan. Grandpa doesn't love Yan Yan at all. In the face of his precious granddaughter's tears, what could Nalan Qing do? He was also helpless. Okay. Grandpa will bring you to see your boss, okay? Nalan Yan immediately smiled through his tears. He hugged his grandfather and kissed him heavily on his face. Grandpa is the best. Yan Yan loves Grandpa the most. Grandpa Nalan thought sourly, what do you mean by loving Grandpa the most? The one you love the most is your boss, right? Forget it. In any case, he also wants to pay a visit to June Mayan and her evildoer son. After her granddaughter came back, her strength had improved so much that she was shocked. Also, the pills and talismans that his granddaughter had taken out were not things that he had never seen before. Even in Tingguang ruins, he couldn't buy them even if he wanted to. Ask her where these things come from. Nalan Yan shook his head and said happily, Auntie gave it to Yan Yan. His mother was very, very good. She was beautiful and powerful, and she could conjure up many, many things. Hao Hao and the others also had some, but Yan Yan had the most. Because old mother said that Yan Yan is a beautiful girl and needs to be spoiled. Nalan Yan smiled. She wanted to see her little brother, and she also wanted to see his mother. Nalan Qing, on the other hand, had a pensive look on his face. Alright, Grandpa will contact the Murong family and the Lu family. Everyone will arrange a time to visit your boss together. Mu Yan came out of the space and yawned, looking exhausted. Luo Yu asked, Sixth senior sister, what have you been busy with recently? That Tian family has gone too far, should we directly go and kill our way to their door? Yun Ruhan frowned, the Tian family's master is at the nascent soul stage, and there are hundreds of golden core experts under him, as well as thousands of Tian family's lords. If we rashly go and kill our way to their door, wouldn't that be courting death? Then what should we do? Leng Yuma gritted her teeth and said, are we just going to let them be arrogant? This Laonyang will absolutely not swallow this. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.